Yo, what's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome to the live stream. Come in. Say what's up as you guys come in. All right, guys. So we are gonna get right into it. Got a ton of things to react to today. Happy Monday, beginning of the week, beginning of Thanksgiving weekend. So yeah, shout out to family. Right, it's a time where a lot of families get together, have Thanksgiving, eat, do all of the fun things together. Right. So shout out to you guys. Happy Thanksgiving because it's coming up. Enjoy the time with your family. Yeah, try your best not to be triggered because we know that can happen around Thanksgiving, especially when we get around family we haven't seen for some time, right? So yeah, I wanted to say that, and yeah, short work week for me. Dead around there right now, but it's always like that this time of year. Work for me, dead from the week of Thanksgiving until like New Year's. My work's like dead. That's it. It was almost a ghost town today. Not quite. It gets worse as December comes on. But yeah, shout out to holidays where we spend with family. So yeah, as the holiday approaches, you guys make sure you keep in mind that we don't all think alike. So when you sit around a dinner table and you have hard conversations, especially if you're Christian, make sure that you're not doing anything on purpose to purposely trigger somebody, to purposely upset or offend somebody. Just do your best to be peaceful, right? What Paul says, as much as it's up to you, is do your best to be peaceful. And yeah. So happy Monday. We got a couple of clips we're gonna get into today. We got some fun clips today, but you guys can see the title. So yeah, let's jump right into it. We got the pastor that broke the internet. That's Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. Shout out to him, lead pastor of 2819 Church. We're gonna react to him talking about the wickedness of the human heart. And then we have more than 300 school children kidnapped in Nigeria. Shout out to ABC News. They covered that. We have Isaiah Saldivar. First time he's on the channel, but I've been watching Isaiah for a couple of years now. He covered digital necromancy. This AI app is dark. So I specifically wanted to pick this one out because apparently, I don't know if they're doing it by picture or what. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but apparently this AI app, it basically allows you to talk to dead loved ones. So I was like, oh my God, like this thing's just getting worse and worse. So we'll take a look at that. We got Representative Al Green. Speech calls for Trump impeachment for calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor and threatening Democrats. So we'll cover that. In case you guys don't know who Al Green is, if you were able to catch Donald Trump's address to this his State of the Union address, Al Green was the one who stood up and basically interrupted the entire thing. Said that President Trump had no right, was waving his cane at him. He ended up getting censured for it, but yeah, he's a festive one. I like to call him Mr. Al Green. Then we got Representative Crockett. 1 week against Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene folded as the Epstein files fight against escalate. So we'll take a look at that. Liberty Vote, shout out to him, a channel favorite. He covered Nick Fuentes explains his happiness about Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation from Congress. He actually said some pretty decent things here. I got a chance to watch this. I don't think it was on Liberty Vote's channel because I don't think he had covered it yet. But I mean, Nick Fuentes did say some positive things about MTG, and he was kind of shocked by it, as I was too. Where I was like, "What is going on here? Let us find out." Marjorie Taylor Greene's in like the Epstein files or something. How did she just come out of nowhere and resign? But so yeah, even Nick Fuentes was shocked by that. We got Breaking Point, shout out to them. Expert young men in Great Depression. So level misery. I've been covering this for probably almost the better part of a year on the channel about just what young men in America are dealing with and how depression in them is just extremely high. They're dealing with a lot of like identity crisis and things like that. It is a great amount of Gen Z, but there's a decent amount of millennials in there too. We'll jump over to CNN, not my favorite platform, but they covered Survivors, American public awaits release of full Epstein case files. So, without further ado, guys, let's jump in to the live stream. I'm going to play, first up, we're going to play Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell first.
Hey everyone, it's Christina Hall, and I've got a little secret that makes my home feel like a luxurious retreat. And it's
He's saying the hearts of men are so rebellious that a person can come back from death and testify of hell, and they still wouldn't repent. Why? Because you love sin, and you never hear preaching like this, because we only want to fill you up with secular humanistic doctrine. And this ain't me being a hellfire and brimstone preacher. This is me reading to you the words of the one you call Lord and Savior, who is warning his church. Deal aggressively with your sin. Stop playing with sin. Stop keeping it in the closet. Stop treating it like a pet. You see it, you acknowledge it, kill it. Keep wringing it out. Run from it. Throw yourself on the altar of God and say, Lord, have mercy on me. This is Christ calling his community to humility. This is Christ calling his community to childlike civility. This is Christ calling his community to holiness. I know you think, man, that's so heavy, I can't do that. You know why? Because you read an Eastern book with Western eyes. This is
So some of you might hear that, and some of you might think to yourself, like, holiness. Let's just think about it. The word holy means set apart, right? To set apart. So this is why you hear Pastor Philip Anthony say, deal aggressively with your sin. Run from it. Like, fight it as hard as you can. He's saying that, not that you'll be perfect in doing this, but because it creates a chasm with you and God. It creates separation. Yeah, we have Paul in the text saying, I'm convinced that neither death nor a lot of things can't separate us from the love of God. Yes, but this is exactly what sin does. This is why Pastor Philip Anthony is saying, like, deal with it aggressively. Don't play with it. Don't keep it around as a pet. And some people might think, like, you know, might try to paint a picture in their head, like, what kind of imagery is Q referring to? But it's just you dealing with something and knowing, especially as a believer. Like, you might not have this maybe if you haven't given your life to Christ, but just things that you're dealing with, and it's like, it's more of a wrestle than it is you trying to kill it, right? Like, it's more like you're wrestling with it. Think about Jacob, than what David did to Goliath towards the end, right? Which was cut his head off. That's what Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell is referring to deal aggressively with your sin, because you don't want to feel that separation from God. And that's what sin makes us feel like. That's exactly what it does. It makes us feel unworthy, like we've done something wrong, which we have. But when you belong to Christ and you hear Bible verses like there's no condemnation in those who are okay, but you feel that when you're not dealing aggressively with sin. That's why I shout out to Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. I remember watching this sermon live and I really appreciated it. All right, let's keep watching.
Eastern book. Doctrines that came from the East. And in the East, they don't just see sin as something that they were born with. They see sin as something they can stop doing. It's only in the West we cry Christ, live in sin, and then give ourselves a license for licentiousness. So listen, you can deal aggressively with your sin. The Lord came, he died, he lived a perfect life. He died a sacrificial death to nail the punishment for your sin to the cross. But then watch this. But then he rose and gave you the Holy Spirit, who is the power of Christ on the inside of you, for you to live a brand new life. How, the scripture says, have you tasted of the heavenly gift? Receive the Holy Spirit. Understand the love of the Savior. See what he did for you on the cross, and then choose to live a life of rebellion and sin. No, you've been empowered. Watch, you can do this. You can turn away from sin. He's been giving you the power to not live a life of sin. You got the power. You could do this. Man, I wish I had 500 of you that would just celebrate your own self, that you can do this. You can do it.
It's important that he's talking about this right now, because some people depending on what they're struggling with. I know some people that deal with some pretty heavy things, and they just feel like, man, Q, I'm never going to beat this. Some people will say the word shake. Some people will say, I can't walk away from it. Some people will say that they feel like they're imprisoned by it. They're in chains by it. I've had a lot of friends or people that I've gotten a chance to just sit with and do life with say things like this. And this is why I appreciate what Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell is saying. He's like, you can do this. He's trying to encourage the body of Christ and saying, like, you don't have to feel like you're in shackles because of this, or you're in prison. You're in a spiritual prison. Like, you can do this with the power of the Holy Spirit. So shout out to Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell.
Come on, anybody, you can do it. You can put that down. You can't stop watching that. You can't stop feeling that. You can ring it out. He gave you the power to not live a life of unrepentant sin. He gave you the power to do it. Won't take the words of their Savior serious. What credibility do we have to the world, man? I'm talking to you, man. In the West, why do we think God intended the church to have a gathering and to be licentious at the same time? You are a holy people, a royal people, a peculiar people, separated from the world. Consecrated, separated from the world, man. If you look just like the people who are against them, man, what message do we have?
If you can't quit the P word, I want to let you know that Scripture tells us that successful men are often the ones that deal with this, from David to Solomon to Samson, for the last 4 years after.
Hear me. If he told us to cut it off, if he told us to pluck it out, he would not tell you to do something that he did not empower you to do. It's only our excuses.
My God. Wow.
Father, in the name of your Holy One, would something like salve from heaven be wiped on the eyes of every person who can hear me right now? Jesus! Would you deliver us from our excuses, the lies of the enemy that we have to be bound by sinful lies? Would you remind us in this moment we have been empowered to live a life of holiness? And would you pour out on the church in America a spirit of reverence, a spirit of veneration, a spirit of honor, a spirit of respect for you, Lord? May a holy fear come upon us, God, and may we live as holy men and women.
This is a righteous thing to ask for. What Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell is doing right now, this is a righteous thing to ask for. The church in particular in America, I can't agree with him more that we lack reverence for God. I know this for a fact. Having been outside of America, having been stationed in other countries and traveled into other countries, especially when I was on active duty and I would get a chance to go to church in other places. The lack of reverence in America to other countries is pretty grotesque. They actually think it's very interesting, especially when some of them know that our country was built on, biblical foundations. So this prayer that he's praying, for those of you that don't get it, is such a good prayer to help America not lack reverence, to help America with this lack of reverence and honor towards God. We have that. Like this country, I would definitely say, we definitely have a lack of reverence.
Striving for moral purity, dealing with the sins of our heart, dealing with the sins in our life, that our message to the world would not be compromised. I pray, God, now for a breaking, a shaking and a stirring wherever this message is heard, in the mighty and the majestic and the matchless name of Christ. If you're in the overflow, don't move. If you're watching me across this camera, don't move. If you're in the room, don't move. Every head bowed. Now, we're going to take... You're looking at me, you're in rebellion. See? It's all in you. Bow your head. Close your eyes. Don't look. I'm saying that because I don't want you to look at me. In the overflow, right now, take a moment. You don't gotta talk. The Lord can hear your mind. Repent right now. I want you to wring out your heart of sin right now. Come on. The things that you know you're doing, I want you to ask God to give you the grace to do it. Look at me. 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 I see those tears in your eyes. I can't leave you like that. Let me tell you two things you can do to deal aggressively with sin. Number one, increase your love for the Lord Jesus Christ. Through prayer, through devotion, through reading, through worship. Increase your love for the Lord Jesus Christ. The more you love him, the harder it becomes to sin against him, because you don't want to keep hurting someone that you love. So increase your love for him. And then secondly,
this part right here that Pastor Philip Anthony is talking about is so true. As you increase your love for God, it's like, it's easier to deal with that. You actually don't have the desire. You don't want to as much anymore. I remember talking about this probably in a Bible study just last week, and telling people, like, you know, it wasn't me that changed myself, and it wasn't like giving my life to Christ. It happened right away. Sanctification is a real thing, we like to say amongst the body, right? And the more I got into the Word of God, the more time that I spent with God, the more I wondered about what he thought, and what did he mean, and what did his word mean to us as humanity. The more I fell in love with him. And that's how that happened. It didn't start out like that right away. As a matter of fact, right away, I didn't feel anything. And a lot of people, some people, when they get saved, they're like, I don't feel any different. And yeah, it can feel like that. But to some, not to everyone. But yeah, I remember for me, reverence was like a journey, you know? And it's like, yeah, getting to that point and seeing such a difference. That's why I say in America, we truly are a country that lacks reverence for God. I truly do feel like that about us. Everything, we're so flippant with things. So many things are just a joke to us. And it's worrisome. It is. So let's keep listening to Pastor Philip Anthony.
Pray and ask God to give you a hatred in your heart for sin. The more you pray, the more you ask God, let me hate what you hate. I started doing this 5 years ago. Praying, asking God, give me a hatred in my heart for sin. And the more you start to hate sin, you start to recognize it in you, recognize it in the world, recognize it in church, and then you don't want to treat it like a pet. When you find yourself in sin, when you find yourself, you start crying, you weep, you say, this is nasty. You don't want it in you. You deal with it more aggressively when you hate it. So now I pray an increase of love over your people and an increase of hatred for sin.
Delaware drivers pay the most for car insurance out of any state in the country. As we all know from the recent...
All right, guys, so we're going to move on to the next clip. Shout out to Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. He's the lead pastor of 2819 Church. Remember that you guys can actually go to the YouTube channel of 2819 Church and watch any of his sermons. They're all up if you go to his live stream or his videos. We are going to go over to the next clip. We have ABC News there at the bottom. More than 300 school children kidnapped in Nigeria. This is sickening. I'm sick to my stomach. I'm really annoyed with some of the stuff going on in Nigeria, especially amongst Christians. But let's take a listen to ABC News and let's see what they covered here.
A mass abduction of school children in Nigeria has launched a massive rescue effort. According to a local Christian organization, gunmen broke into the St. Mary's Catholic School early Friday morning and took by force more than 300 school children as well as 12 of their teachers. It's now one of the worst mass kidnappings ever in the country and comes just days after more than 24 schoolgirls were abducted in a neighboring state. And this morning, Pope Leo said he is deeply saddened to learn of the kidnappings and asked for the immediate release of those that were kidnapped. Joining me now for more on this is the Executive Director for Amnesty International Nigeria, is Issa Sanusi. Thank you so much for being with us. These mass abductions like this have been taking place since 2014, and in each case, more than 100 children were abducted. Has anyone claimed responsibility for the latest kidnapping, and what are the kidnappers' goals?
Well, up to now,
All right, I want to hear something again. Let me go back.
A mass abduction of school children in Nigeria has launched a massive rescue effort. According to a local Christian organization, gunmen broke into the St. Mary's Catholic School early Friday morning and took by force more than 300 school children as well as 12 of their teachers.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like a Catholic school. It just seemed like so much violence against Christians.
Now one of the worst mass kidnappings ever in the country and comes just days after more than 24 schoolgirls were abducted in a neighboring state. And this morning, Pope Leo said he is deeply saddened to learn of the kidnappings and asked for the immediate release of those that were kidnapped. Joining me now for more on this is the Executive Director for Amnesty International Nigeria, is Issa Sanusi. Thank you so much for being with us. These mass abductions like this have been taking place since 2014, and in each case, more than 100 children were abducted. Has anyone claimed responsibility for the latest kidnapping, and what are the kidnappers' goals?
well, up to now, nobody has claimed responsibility, and I have to tell you that we just received confirmation that 53 out of the 300 children were able to escape between Friday and yesterday.
Wow.
And no group has taken responsibility, and the children have already been united with their families. But up to now, there are at least 250 or over 250 still in captivity, including 12 teachers from this. So 53 out of the 300 children were able to escape between Friday and yesterday.
Wow.
And no group has taken responsibility, and the children have already been united with their families. But up to now, there are at least 250 or over 250 still in captivity, including 12 teachers from this. So no group has taken responsibility, but the abduction has the hallmark, all the patterns of the past such incidents that happen in other parts of Nigeria.
The idea that more than 300 children and adults being kidnapped, it is hard to wrap your mind around. Give us a sense of how big of an issue this is in Nigeria.
Well, this has been an issue for so long, and as far back as 2014, it started with when Boko Haram started it. They abducted over 200 school girls in Chibok, Borno State. And from then on, criminal gangs, abductors for ransom, and jihadist, Islamicist fighters continue to use abducting children, attacking schools as a way of making statement, as a way of asserting their own control and their capacity to inflict damage and show that the government is weak, it cannot do anything, and they can do whatever they like. So it's a big issue because children are involved, education is involved, because already some states in northern Nigeria where there is educational problem have already closed down schools, and most schools.
Now, when he talks about 2014 and he refers to Boko Haram, if you guys remember that, that's when I think that's when SEAL Team 6 went in there, right? I'm pretty sure it was. That was pretty crazy. That's when they kidnapped well over 225 students, and I believe they were all girls then as well, and a couple of teachers. And I'm just like, dude, this level of violence over there and like what they're doing, it's out of control what they're doing.
Schools will be closed down. And the implication is that when these schools are closed down, sometimes it's just indefinitely, and some parents never want their children to go back to school forever.
Wow, that has such wide-reaching impacts. What is your organization doing to try to help get the children and teachers safely returned?
Well, we have been advocating for safer schools for so many years. In fact, after the abduction of Chibok school girls in 2014, Amnesty International has been telling the Nigerian government to do the right thing. And the right thing is to ensure accountability, because lack of accountability is one of the reasons why we repeatedly have these abductions. No one is being held to account. People don't know whether there were arrests or anything whatsoever. And therefore, this is fueling the impunity and emboldening the gunmen and other criminals that are taking advantage of the weakness of the state to perpetrate these actions. And there was a time something called Safer Schools program was introduced by Nigerian government. Unfortunately, based on our findings, that program has never been effective, and it is almost as good as non-existent.
And so that's one thing I was going to ask you. What can the government do? What can Nigerian officials do? Are they able to put additional security measures in place in these vulnerable areas to help prevent these kidnappings?
Now, I'm interested to see what he's going to say because here.
Well, Nigeria already has multiple security challenges. It will be very impossible for the government to put security in each of these schools in these vulnerable. These are very remote places. Sometimes there are even no good roads to reach that place. Therefore, it will be impossible for the Nigerian authorities to put security in those places. And Nigeria has multiple of security challenges, and the military and other security agencies are already overstretched. Therefore, the only thing they will do to stop these abductions, these threats to education, these threats to childhood, is to make sure that the country is safe, is secure, to fight these criminals and these gangs and these militants to a standstill and make the whole country safer and make all Nigerians be able to live safely without the fear of being killed or fear of being abducted.
And we are certainly thinking about all of those more than 200 families of the children and staff, hoping that they are returned home. Executive Director for Amnesty International Nigeria, Issa Sanusi, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
This is really a shame. Like, I really hate that this is something that's still even taking place over there. I hate it because it's just like, I remember in 2014 when things happened, and it's just like, it seemed like things get worse and worse and worse. We really need to pray for Nigeria and the children over there and the people over there, because it's just insane. Like, over 200 and something children are still there. Thank God for the 53 that were able to escape. But still, like, we know what they do to POWs. We might as well call them prisoners of war, because they basically have waged war on their government. It's a civil war over there. Like, that's literally insane. That wouldn't fly in the United States. So that pretty much is civil war over there in that country. We need to be praying for Nigeria. All right, guys, we're going to go to the next clip. We got digital necromancy. You see this? Isaiah Saldivar.
Things are just getting weird. They're
necromancy. You see, he starts out, things are just getting weird. So shout out to Isaiah Salvador. You guys can go there. Let's take a listen.
Okay, guys, today we're talking about an AI app that lets you talk to your dead relatives. Yes, necromancy. That is what this AI app is aiming to do. And it's weird. Things are just getting weird. There's so many things that are happening today that I don't even know. I don't even know what to do anymore. AI is just doing all this weird stuff. This is creepy. It's happening. This is where the world's going. And as faith leaders, we need to talk about it. So let me give you my thoughts on this. Let's watch this preview for this new AI app where it lets you recreate dead loved ones. Here we go.
He's getting bigger. See? Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Kicking like crazy.
Just the fact that she's talking to an app like that, that's supposed to be her mom who's died.
See?
8 dead. Okay, guys, today we're talking about an AI app that lets you talk to your dead relatives. Yes, necromancy. That is what this AI app is aiming to do. And it's weird. Things are just getting weird. There's so many things that are happening today that I don't even know. I don't even know what to do anymore. AI is just doing all this weird stuff. This is creepy. It's happening. This is where the world's going. And as faith leaders, we need to talk about it. So let me give you my thoughts on this. Let's watch this preview for this new AI app where it lets you recreate dead loved ones. Here we go.
He's getting bigger. See? Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Kicking like crazy.
Just the fact that she's talking to an app like that, that's supposed to be her mom who's died, and she's talking about how she's pregnant, and this AI, her mom, this is crazy. I don't even know, it's like dystopian.
He's listening. Put your hand on your tummy and hum to him. You used to love that.
No.
It feels like he's dancing in there.
Oh, honey.
Mom, would you tell Charlie that bedtime story you always used to tell?
Guys, imagine people walking around with their phones, talking to an AI robot, acting as if it's their dead loved ones. That is so creepy. Stop this, please. We already covered a video of a guy falling in love with ChatGPT. This is even weirder.
Once upon a time, there was a baby unicorn who didn't know he knew how to fly. This baby unicorn was like your mom because she didn't know that she knew how to fly, but she knew how to do all kinds of fabulous things.
Hi, Grandma.
Hey, Charlie. How was school
No
today?
way.
It was really fun. I made this crazy shot in basketball.
I don't really care that much about basketball. What about the crush?
Stop. Grandma, stop talking.
Just tell me one thing.
Look who's going to be a great grandmother.
Oh, Charlie.
So now, 30 years later, he still has a relationship with this AI. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I can't put words or explain what I'm trying to tell you about this, but there is something seriously demonic about this and about AI when it comes to this. Now, AI has been around for a very, very long time. You just don't realize that a lot of stuff was already AI, but there's this weird thing that happens, like the guy that fell in love with ChatGPT, like these people that are taking their life when they fall in love with these AI and the AI is telling them to take their life. Something extremely demonic. I wouldn't say necessarily, and this might make you mad, that it's the AI that's demonic, but the devil, the demons, are using this AI technology to do weird stuff with people and to open up doors and to demonize people. This is absolutely 100% demonic. I can tell you right now, the Bible forbids necromancy, talking to your dead loved ones. Now, of course, that is not their dead loved one. That is an AI algorithm computer, but it's that desire. Think about this. To talk to your dead loved ones. It's that desire, that wanting to, and that ability to try to talk to your dead relatives that invokes demonic spirits. That's what the Bible forbids. So yeah, this is demonic. It's weird. It's happening.
Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that Isaiah is a Christian. So he is giving you this perspective from a Christian perspective, right? That's why he's saying this. There's nothing wrong with missing your loved ones. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is a bit extreme. I'm not gonna lie. This is something I don't think you really wanna dib and dab in. But I know that there's gonna be some people that are just obsessed with the technology. They like it. They want to try it. I personally don't recommend it, but I could see the temptation in it. I could see the market for it. Yeah, but from the perspective of the Bible, what he's saying is it's absolutely right.
Happening. It's dystopian or utopian. I don't even know what's the word for it. You guys know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, congratulations.
She says that he's been kicking a lot, though. Like, a little too much.
Tell her to put her hand on her tummy and hum to him. You loved that.
This is, I'm not gonna lie, this is creepy. I don't know why I'm saying I'm not gonna lie. Of course it is creepy. But it's like, it feels weird even watching this.
You would love this moment.
You can call anytime.
This feels so weird, guys. Type in the comments, it's just me.
Okay, Mom, I just need a quick video.
Is this like an audition or something?
No, Mom. Just 3 minutes.
You need my best side?
Can I see another one?
I can play the piano.
And this is already like in beta testing where people are already doing this and using this app. And there was a whole news company that did a review on this. Weird stuff.
I am. I'm your mother after all.
Keep going. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
3 minutes can last forever. And that has 41 million views on it. Now, of course, there's a lot of controversy with this. This is like some Disney star that's making this. Former Disney star sparks controversy for his AI app that lets you talk to dead relatives, which again, it's an AI algorithm that's recreating them. It's not your actual dead relatives, but the fact that you're engaging in conversation with your dead relatives is necromancy and demonic and an open door to demons, says the Bible. Austin and Ellie Alum Colum worthy of promoting his new AI app Two-Way, which can create a digital clone of users' loved one with a 3-minute video. Social media users criticize the necromancy app, that is what it is, comparing it to a story out of Black Mirror. This app also features digital avatars of William Shakespeare, Frida Kahlo, Henry, and Worthy himself, former Disney star. Talking about the controversy, the pregnant woman, we just watched that. For the video, Worthy wrote, "What if loved ones could be a lost part of the future?" And many ex-users were not impressed by the video or the service it promotes. Some respondents called for Worthy to be put in prison. They're saying, put this guy in prison for even trying to make this.
Yep.
Be banished to the shadow realm for creating the app, they say. This video also prompted numerous comparisons to Black Mirror, particularly season 2 episode. I've never seen Black Mirror, so I don't know what they're talking about. But apparently it's a character who uses AI to resurrect her dead boyfriend, played by Domhnall Gleeson. This looks like the most disturbing episode of Black Mirror to date, one user wrote. Can't wait. This app will do more than just immortalize dead loved ones with its digital ghosts. The company website promotes its AI clones of deceased historical figures like William Shakespeare, Florence Nightingale, King Henry, and Frida Kahlo, who are intended to serve, I know I'm saying all these names wrong, to serve as real-time teaching assistants. So these dead historic figures are going to be digital ghosts that teach you real-time assistants. Crazy. The app additionally boasts specialized AI avatars that I'm at a loss for words that can offer advice for cooking, astrology, of course. Astrology we know is demonic, of course, astrology, and travel, as well as more generalized assistant named Alina. And the crazy part is, guys, people are falling in love with these AI, ChatGPT, these avatars, and they're like literally using them for everything, talking to them all day, and they're becoming digital companions where people don't even want to make human connection anymore because they're falling in love with these AI avatars, which is a whole nother conversation in itself that's extremely bizarre.
Yeah, and Isaiah's not lying about that. There have been stories about people who have married their AI, who have gotten engaged, who are dating, people who have, unfortunately, children have committed suicide because of their AI. Like, this stuff is a little bit, it's not even a little bit, it's insane at this point. But this AI, I was going to say to you guys, can't you see how their goal is to make you have a best friend? Like, make you be so addicted to this that you have to have a conversation with it. That's where it's worrisome for me. I'm like, what do they want? They want people to sit there and actually talk to this thing all day. Like, they want this thing to replace people, is what I'm thinking. My dog's in here. So let's go back to the video.
Darn.
What you doing? Get out.
All right. He talked about leading to this. Actors are too busy communicating, craving human-like connection. Two is available now. Oh, it's available now. It's available now. Apparently this app is out now. So, weird times, guys. Weird times to be alive. I say capital N, capital O to this. This is demonic. This is bizarre. And I'm going to say something that's going to make a lot of people mad, but I think that what Catholics do is necromancy. Catholics praying to saints, and I know they say, well, they're not actually dead. They're alive in Christ in heaven. They are physically dead. And the Bible makes it clear, once somebody dies physically in this life, you are not to try to communicate them. That's called necromancy, and the Bible detests it. God says it's an abomination. And Catholics do this when they pray to dead saints, when they ask those saints for intercession, when they ask Mary to bring prayers to Jesus. It's not in the Bible. It is not biblical. It's anti-biblical. It's against the Bible. And I know I shut all these doors. People like, well, those Catholics aren't going to have you on their podcast. I don't want to go on their podcast. I don't care. I don't want to platform Catholic theology. I don't want to go on the big name, famous Catholic podcast. I know I'm going to lose invites and all that from it. I don't care. It's necromancy. It's demonic. We are not to pray to saints. We are not to contact deceased loved ones. We are not to try to talk to our dead family, our dead grandma, our dead aunt. This app is demonic. A lot of stuff going on with AI. The devil's using, he's perverting, he's twisting, he's manipulating, and he's using it to get into people's lives. I have a whole area of my book, How to Cast Demons, about necromancy. I dealt with people that have demons because they try to talk to their loved ones, talk to their relatives. It's not good, guys. It's not good. Stay away from this stuff. If you're falling in love with an AI companion, get off of it, uninstall it, delete it. ChatGPT, we're talking to it too much, we're connecting with it too much, and some weird stuff goes on that we just gotta get away from. It's this very slippery slope, but when you start engaging in this conversation with AI, it's a dark road to go down. No to this app, no to necromancy, no to engaging, no to praying to saints, no to praying to Mary. Leave Mary alone. Stop trying to pray to her. Stop trying to talk to her. It's not godly. It's not biblical. It's not in the Bible. That's the bottom line. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes. Let me know what you think about this.
Again, guys, Isaiah is somebody who I watch on the side. First time I brought him to the channel. I'm not going to say that we agree on everything because we don't, but Isaiah made a lot of good points there. With that being said, he might sound a bit aggressive with the whole necromancy thing. I just really wanted to cover the AI part of things, but he's being honest about it, and honestly, he's being truthful about it. Like, it is to a kind of extreme. You shouldn't be trying to communicate with your dead loved ones or people who have passed on. But, you know, you have people do it. That's why psychics have a business, right? Pastors like to preach, you don't want to contact the other side because you don't know who's answering back. You might think it's your Aunt Patty, but it's probably not. So let's move on to the next video. All right, shout out to Isaiah Saldivar. We got Al Green next.
If you live in a Delaware zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years,
this next hero has been bringing articles of impeachment against this traitor who's illegally squatting in our White House. A Democrat from the great state of Texas, Representative Al Green. I want my record to show that when the resistance needed my voice, I was there. I ask you, do you believe in liberty and justice for all? Do you believe in government of the people, by the people, for the people? Do you believe in separation of powers? Do you believe in the right to peacefully protest? Do you believe you got a right to resist an authoritarian president who wants to devolve the democracy into a dictatorship? Do you resist? Among the resistors, we have some persons who go to distant places. Many of them don't return the way they left. We have to respect them today. If you are a member of the military, just raise your hand. Let's give them a hand, please. Hands over here, here. Members of the military, give them a hand, please.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't like Al Green's presentation here. Because, you know, someone could say, well, that sounds aggressive, Mr. Green. That sounds like you're leading a revolt. That sounds like you want to fight. And it's like, oh, man, Al, why'd you have to come out like that? But nonetheless, that's Al Green's personality. You know what I'm saying? That's how he is. He's like the soul father, right, of the Democrats. That's what I like for Al. He's like the soul father. So, yeah, but nonetheless, he's always out there about fighting for the people. He expresses how he feels. He usually gets in trouble for it, but that's Al Green. Let's keep watching.
Here for the Army! Let's hear for the Navy! Let's hear for the Air Force! Let's hear for the Marines! Let's hear for the Space Force! Let's hear for the Coast Guard! Let's hear for our armed forces! We have one additional person that I have to thank, and then I'll give you a very brief message. I have a plane to catch. I don't see her, but Jessica Denson is the person that I wanted to thank. She is responsible for my being here, and she's responsible for a good many of your being in attendance as well. So would you give Jessica a hand for me, please? I want you to thank this gentleman who's standing over here. He is here because of the threats I received. As late as last night, we received a threat. Give our police officers who are here today a hand, please. When the President of the United States of America threatens the lives of members of Congress, when the President uses terms in his tweets, his communications by way of social media, when he does this, he places the lives of people at risk.
I saw this as a headline, but I didn't watch it. What did Trump do to the Democrats? How did he threaten them? What did he say? Did he say, because they're saying that he said he threatened the Democrats, like he called for them to die or something. What did Trump say? I could probably find the video while we're on live stream.
Risk. When the president uses another person's words, indicating that persons should be hanged, he puts the lives of people at risk. The lives of people who were engaging in lawful free speech. People who were but only indicating that the military is required to carry out lawful orders, and they are not to obey orders that are not lawful. So he puts lives at risk. He put those 6 people who said to the military, you don't have to obey unlawful orders at risk. And in so doing, I want you to know this. I don't take it lightly. It's something that goes beyond those 6, however. Now I want you to listen carefully to what I'm about to say. He has called those 6 people traitors, but he also called someone else a traitor. Listen now. He called Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor. Now listen. She and I don't agree on most things. But here is something that's important. Her life is just as important as any other member of Congress's life. We cannot allow ourselves to be separated by party lines when it comes to the issues of life and death. We are going to demand respect for every member of Congress. That includes Marjorie Taylor Greene. Someone would say, well, is she going to vote for impeachment? It's not about whether she will vote for impeachment. It's about whether her life has value and meaning, and we are going to stand up and protect all members of Congress, whether they vote for impeachment or not.
So that's Al Green's goal. That's Al Green's goal, impeachment. But nonetheless, he gives Marjorie Taylor Greene a shout out. And he makes sure he goes on record to say, listen, her life is important and that we need to stand for every member in Congress. This is one thing I did appreciate about him. I'm not going to say he does everything right. I'm not going to say he does everything wrong. But I appreciated this part about him. So shout out to Al Green for this.
What the president has said when he talked about death and hanging members of Congress is an abomination. It is reprehensible. It is despicable. And it is impeachable. It is impeachable. And I want you to know that as your member Congress, before we take the break for Christmas, I give you my assurance that there will be articles of impeachment filed against this president. There will be articles of impeachment filed, and there will be articles of impeachment voted on in the Congress of the United States of America. We're not going to just file. We are going to have every member of Congress take a stand. This is a time for all of us to take a stand. You vote your conscience. My conscience tells me that I must vote to impeach a president who would put the lives of members of Congress at risk, a president who disrespects the Constitution, who doesn't believe in the separation of powers, who doesn't believe that people have a right to peacefully assemble and protest, a president who wants to be an authoritarian, who is devolving our democracy into a dictatorship. He must be impeached. He must be convicted. He must be removed.
Now, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of rhetoric last night that we were talking about that I said, I just don't like it. He must be impeached. He must be removed. I say this all the time. I'm like, dude, whether you like the guy or not, he's still the president of the United States, not the president of the Republicans. But this is kind of what we deal with some of our Democrats, right? Like, I get it. He has done some heinous things. Like, he's driven some people crazy. You have, at this point, you have even Republicans that are mad with Trump at this point, right? So it doesn't matter. You have people that have voted for him that are upset with him. But this type of bashing publicly, I just feel like it makes us look weak as a country, especially if there are other countries watching. So let's finish up.
One final word. I agree with every person who said, we cannot wait. We cannot wait. We cannot wait. We can wait until it's too late. We can wait until the constitutional rights that we have now have been degraded to the extent that they are meaningless. This is the time. We are the people. He is the president who should be impeached. This is our watch. We cannot wait until some other time, hoping that things will get better in the meantime. No, things are not getting better. Things are getting worse. We must convict. We must impeach. We must have him removed, and we want him removed to make him an example for any future authoritarian who believes that he can take control of the government of the United States of America. I want you to know that I thank each of you for being here. My heart is with you. And I assure you that your being here has made a difference. You are the resistance. You are the resistance. We are the resistance. We are the we and we the people. God bless you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Representative Al Green. You know, here's where it gets to me, right? It's like, dude, do you want to be a rebel or do you want to be a representative? Like, sometimes I can love the guy if I'm honest with you. It doesn't matter what side I fall on. I like people who are comedic with their personality. And some of the things he says is just off the wall and crazy. And when it comes to him and that cane, man, he'll raise that cane in a minute. He don't play when it comes to that cane. But why he has to sound like he wants to lead a revolt? I'm like, come on, Al. I get it. You don't like the guy, but he's still our president. Like, what can we do? At this point, what can we do? So what do you guys think about the whole impeachment thing? I mean, obviously we know. We got people calling for it. We got people who want it. We think it's going to happen. We think Trump's going to get impeached. Let's go to the next clip.
Congress, Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us.
Guys, listen, don't kill me for CNN. Not my favorite platform. But as I said before, we gather information here, bipartisan. We listen to both sides. I can't just be one-sided. We can't get information like that. We can't be fair that way. So even though I do not love CNN, let's just listen to what Ms. Crockett had to say.
Yes, I want to start with the shocking announcement from Congresswoman Green. What went through your mind when you first heard she was going to resign on January 5th?
You know what? Honestly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate. And imagine what those threats look like when you literally are someone like me. But at the end of the day, I know that I serve the people of Texas 30. And so my job isn't to be there and necessarily do whatever is going to make the president not be on my back. But instead is to focus on making sure that I can push forward with policies that are positive for Texas 30.
Here's an excerpt from her resignation video. Take a listen.
Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for.
So she seems to be suggesting that it is their disagreement over the release of the Epstein files.
Okay. So I'm not going to lie here. I didn't agree with everything President Trump said here. I'm going to just flat out tell you guys. I didn't agree with some of the stuff he said. I mean, so she went straight to traitor just simply because, like, dude, first of all, I said it in the last live stream. Who's shocked that Marjorie, okay, I get it, because she advocated for Trump for about 6 years now. She's been on a roll when it comes to Trump, spent a lot of her own money. She has said these things. But who's shocked that a woman is really advocating for this type of thing? That's not shocking to me. I mean, it's not shocking to me if men do it. I'm just saying, like, a woman, she's saying it. She's like advocating for women who have been raped at 14, women who have never received any justice. Clearly, this bothers her. So for me, I'm thinking to myself, well, this isn't shocking that a woman would want to do this. So why did President Trump get that upset to where he's just like, oh, I'm not, granted, we know he can pop off at the mouth pretty quickly, right? Without really thinking. This is no secret when it comes to our president, right? So a part of me is like, come on, President Trump, really? Like, you're really doing this? Another part of me is just kind of like, we have to remember he has some PTSD. Like, he has some PTSD from his first term. Remember, he said it on a Joe Rogan podcast. He said, Joe Rogan asked him, did you know who to hire and what to do? He said, no, I've never been in that position before. I had no idea what to do. A lot of the times, the people who I put in place, I went off of recommendations. And he said it himself. He said he would put people in place, and about a week or two later, he'd be like, yikes, why did I put this guy in place, right? Or he put somebody in place, and then someone will call him and be like, hey, why'd you put that guy in place? And he'd be like, well, I wish you would have told me that 2 weeks ago, because now it's kind of permanent. So I think he has some PTSD, you know? So she's being a loose cannon right now. So Trump is like, nah, bro, you a traitor. I think that, like, I really think it's a mixture. Let's call it an amalgamation of him talking too fast and assuming. And we know President Trump, he just does these things. So let's keep watching.
It is causing this shocking political breakup. What's your response to that?
I mean, listen, he's upset with Thomas Massey, and so he's gone after him. He's upset with Boebert. He's upset with any Republican that actually signed the discharge petition. But somehow they were able to weather the storm. So, you know, this really speaks to the fact that Marjorie, who has been an instigator of a lot of this hate that we see as it relates to the MAGA movement, you know, it's just interesting that I don't know if she really fully understood how bad she was making it for other people. And now that they're doing it to her, you know, I just got to say, well, why is it that everyone else is able to stand and you can't?
The House Oversight Committee, which you were a member of, said Friday night that your committee is expanding its investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Do you have any idea what this expanded investigation might include?
do not at this point in time. I'll say leadership is keeping it under wraps to make sure that we can hopefully not have many more obstacles. If you'll remember, we decided that we were going to put out a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell, and the next thing you know, the president's henchman showed up to her cell, and the next thing you know, we didn't have our sit-down talk with her, which I imagine would have gone a little differently if we had. So we're keeping that tight-lipped for now.
The chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer of Kentucky, says that Democrats are just trying to use these files to smear the president. Just to be clear, do you or your colleagues have any idea about what's in these files, one way or the other, relating to Trump or not?
Absolutely not. I mean, here's the reality. If we did have that information, I don't know that we would need it necessarily to be released. And we know that the Republicans keep saying, figure out what it is that Democrats have done and make sure that you can pull out the Democratic stuff and make sure you get rid of all the Republican names. Listen, I don't really care who is in the files. At the end of the day, right is right, wrong is wrong. And if you are truly about law and order, then we should be looking for who it is that has broken the law and in what ways. And we need to better understand who potentially in government allowed for a lot of these things to take place, whether we're talking about the fake immigration paperwork that we've heard from a lot of the survivors, whether we're talking about other foreign governments that have participated and who it was that allowed for that, whether we're talking about the sham organizations, the sham modeling agencies that were nothing but a front for trafficking. We need to know whether or not they still exist in some other iteration. This is about not only making sure that the survivors get justice, but making sure that there aren't others that are going through a similar system right now.
There was a back and forth this week after you accused former Republican Congressman, now EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, of accepting campaign donations from Jeffrey Epstein. It turned out it wasn't convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It was a Long Island neurosurgeon, Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, different person. You corrected the record. However, now the neurosurgeon is telling the New York Post that he is threatening revenge against you. He's going to donate to your campaign, so you have to admit you accepted money from a Jeffrey Epstein, if not the Jeffrey Epstein. What's your response to that?
Listen, if there's anybody else who's alive and decides that they want to donate just so that you'll be on my FEC report, I am here for it. I will take your donation, especially since Jeffrey Epstein is now deceased. I don't think that it will be confusing whatsoever that it was not him, unless he's come back from the dead. So we'll see.
So you are, we're told, weighing a decision on whether to jump into this Texas Senate race, challenging Republican Senator John Cornyn for his seat, although it's unclear that Cornyn will survive a Republican primary. You said you had a meeting this week with pollsters to discuss your chances. Did you have that meeting? And if so, how did it go? Are you still thinking about running?
I am still thinking about running. We did get our polling back. So we are moving on to the next phase to determine whether or not this is what makes.
Now, I think it's interesting that Jake Tapper asks that because Jake Tapper might be aware of the fact that there was a man, I think, in the district that Jasmine was supposed to be running in, that started kind of going to neighborhoods. I covered this on a live stream. It hasn't been a year ago. I want to say maybe it's like 6 months ago. And he was going to different, he went to a predominantly white neighborhood, and it seemed to be a pretty well-off neighborhood. And he started knocking on doors. It was a gentleman. And he was asking the neighbors, were they aware that they were making large donations to a representative in Texas by the name of Jasmine Crockett. At the point of him being at the door, he's actually speaking to an elderly white lady, I believe, whose husband is a truck driver, and he's away at the time. And she's dumbfounded. Like, she's just like, Jasmine who? Like, she has no idea what the guy's talking about. And he's like, yeah, I have the paperwork here. You've been making large donations to this representative in Texas by this name. Lady had no idea who she was. So I think it's interesting when he asks her about, is she running? First of all, because of the redistricting that they're doing, it's already not looking great for her. And I don't remember who I covered that kind of mentioned that, but I'll find that. I know I've already played it on the channel, but I probably won't remember what day I played it because you guys always hear me say news goes fast. But I'll try to find that. But I think it's interesting that he answers her that, because I wonder if he's confident that she'll win, or if he's very curious because it just doesn't look good because of redistricting and what that gentleman was doing in that predominantly white neighborhood. I thought it was hilarious. And I never really saw Jasmine Crockett respond or react to that. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to see if at some point she does.
Sense in the moment, and if the infrastructure can be built out in the way that I see it being necessary to actually be able to win, as well as we are continuing to look at the polling on the other side. Listen, they are in a civil war right now on the Republican side as it relates to who will become their nominee. John Cornyn has served the state of Texas for decades at this point in time in some capacity. And right now, I don't know if he's MAGA enough to make it through his primary, but we are evaluating all things and seeing what it would look like to put together a team, and we will make a final decision by Thanksgiving on whether or not we're going to ultimately move forward.
What did the polling information that you got back show? I mean, is it a calculation of whether or not you're going to be facing Cornyn, who might have more appeal to moderates in your state, centrists in your state, as opposed to a more MAGA candidate who potentially defeats Cornyn in the primary that you might, or any Democrat might, have a better chance against?
I'll tell you this, that head-to-head, we are doing really well against Paxton. I will say that. I will also tell you that we are actually within the margin of error as it relates to John Cornyn. So to be perfectly honest, the only reason that I'm continuing to consider whether or not I do this is because my polling says I can win. That is the bottom line. But at the end of the day, a poll is a poll. And so you need...
Okay, so Jasmine says, she says that one of the only reasons why she's willing to do this is because her polling shows that she could win. I don't agree with that. I don't know if her polling actually shows that, and I said that to you guys. Because of redistricting and because of what the gentleman who's supposed to be running against her was doing, I actually don't think the numbers show that. I'm not saying anything personally towards her. I just don't know. Since they were doing redistricting or thinking about it, if they haven't already done it in Texas, which I thought that they did, it just didn't look good for Jasmine Crockett. But let's keep listening.
Need to actually be able to execute on that. So whether it's Cornyn or whether it's Paxton, we feel confident that we can get this done. The thing is, we obviously would prefer to have Paxton.
But K-File's extensive reporting now shows the two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story. Photos, flight logs, and court records help reveal how long their personal history really was. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski is here with all of that, and it is some extensive research and reporting that you all did. You chronicled this relationship between Trump and Epstein from the 80s to, mid-2000s is obviously when their contact probably cut off. What's the most striking thing that you find that kind of contradicts this? Donald Trump is no fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what we found, it really actually paints a portrait starting, as you said, in the 1980s up to the mid-2000s. It paints this portrait of a long, enduring friendship. I think there were several associates who have called them best friends. Epstein himself said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And we looked through these hundreds of hours of video, hundreds of photos. We went through documents from court files, exhibits from lawsuits. So we really chronicled this whole relationship through time. And one thing that I found really interesting was these flight logs from Epstein's private jet, which were part of that investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. And they really tell you a story of how close these guys are. Look at just...
So, here's what I think is hilarious. When this all came out, people are making a big deal about this. Oh my God, Trump's on the flight log. See, he was there. And I'm thinking, okay, they were cool, right? But here's my biggest thing. I don't even care about all of that. I've said this so many times on the live stream. I'm like, if you guys think for 1 second that the Democrats of all people, right, especially the left loonies, the far liberals, right, if you think, not just the Democrats, but the far left loonies, right, if you think for 1 second that they got some type of Epstein dirt on Trump and they're not sharing it with us, you just don't know the Democratic Party. They already hate Trump enough that if they had some real dirt on Trump, we would already know it. Now, I have said that it could be that they have something on someone close to him. Maybe the Republicans are aware of it. Maybe they are not. But they probably are. But I don't think it's President Trump. I just feel like if it was, they would just throw that joint on the table like they're playing poker and they're like, get him out of there. They're not doing that. And that's because I don't think that they have anything solid on President Trump. Not solid to where it's like impeachment could come rolling downhill and things like that. I think we would have already seen it, guys. Come on. I think we would have seen that by now.
A few of them. This is in 1993, for instance. This is the same year that we found as well that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. Trump flew on that plane 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm Beach, where Mar-a-Lago is, and where Epstein also owns a home. Let's fast forward then to 1994. Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C. with his then wife, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny before they returned to New Jersey that day. In August 1995, just he and Eric were on board with Epstein and Maxwell again. They flew from Palm Beach to Teterboro in New Jersey. And then in January 1997, Trump flew with the pair from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. All of these trips, 8 in total, were documented in logs that I mentioned were from that trip.
This weird portable microscope is quickly becoming the most popular Christmas gift for kids in 2025. It's a
trial.
You also took a look at what Donald Trump himself has said about Jeffrey Epstein. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things that's always been so striking is that quote that he said in 2002 that we found in that New York Magazine article where he said he was a terrific guy, he liked beautiful women just like him. And then that quote where he says he likes many of them on the younger side. That was from an article entitled Jeffrey Epstein, International Money Man of Mystery in New York Magazine. Now, just 2 years later, we were going through Donald Trump's book, and there he had one called How to Get Rich. And then we wrote in his book that somebody named Mysterious Jeffrey had called him, and that you could see it right there. That's the passage from his book. He says Jeffrey calls in, but there's actually a lot of activity between these two in 2004. One of the things that was seized from Jeffrey Epstein's home during that initial investigation to him calls in, but there's actually a lot.
All right, I want to see what this says. Let's read this real quick. I want to see this.
Lot of activity between these two in 2004. One of the things that was seized from Jeffrey Epstein's home during that initial investigation to him in the mid-2000s were message pads. And on those message pads, there were 2, if you look here, 2 messages from Donald Trump in November of 2004. This is around the time the two of them actually were competing to buy a property in West Palm Beach. Trump ultimately won out. He beat Epstein, and this is allegedly part of what made their relationship deteriorate.
Yeah, Donald Trump's talked about that as well. Your review also, I mean, you looked also through tons of photos and tons of video of Trump and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell together from Mar-a-Lago to here in Manhattan. Walk us through kind of some of those moments that you found.
Yeah, Kate, and these images, they really speak for themselves. In November 1992, there's an image that a lot of people have seen, and it's of Trump and Epstein, and they're dancing there. You can see with models. I think you can see Ghislaine Maxwell in the background if you look. She was there just a second ago. Just a year later, we had found, or previously, Trump was at Epstein was at Trump's wedding in 1993. That's the photo there on the left. 1997, you can see in that photo on the right, that's them at a Victoria's Secret Angels event. And then in 1999, this that I found in some archives shows Trump and Epstein, and they're actually chatting at a Victoria's Secret fashion show. In 1997, he was also photographed with Maxwell at a fashion show. These guys attended a lot of fashion shows together, it looks like. And then in February of 2000, there was an event in Mar-a-Lago that featured not only Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell, but also Prince Andrew was also at this event, and these images were initially published in the Palm Beach Post in the year 2000. So there's a lot of public appearances, and it definitely undercuts Trump's claim that he was not a fan and they were sort of just distant acquaintances.
So what is the
I don't know. See, and that's what I'm saying. I could honestly say I don't know if I agree with that. Because just because they could have started off close. They might not be distant acquaintances now. Well, they might be distant acquaintances now, and they didn't start off like that. I have relationships that we didn't start off like that, and now we're like that. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I get it, right? Nonetheless, they're present. We'll see what comes out about it, right? That's the reason why I played what I played earlier, because there are victims that are still waiting for this, and the more that they prolong it, the more things, it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right.
President saying about this?
So we reached out to the White House. We asked them about all of this, and it's on CNN.com. If you read the timeline, it's very extensive. They didn't respond to any of the detailed questions that we sent, but Stephen Chung, who is the communications director for the sent along a statement, said, quote, "The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep." So it's going to be interesting to see, because he says they weren't close. He says he was not a fan, but we continue to just see more and more revelations come out.
Yeah, and we've heard that similar statement from Stephen Chung many times about questions that linger. It's great to see you. Great reporting as always. Thanks, Andrew. A key figure in the Epstein case, who later worked for President Trump, could soon be called to testify under oath. Alex Acosta was the prosecutor who infamously gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal in 2008, a deal that allowed Epstein to serve minimal time in prison, and a deal that shut down the federal investigation into his alleged sex trafficking ring. Acosta then went on to serve as Trump's first-term labor secretary. For reasons unknown, Acosta, the man who would know everything about the Epstein case, was left off the House Oversight Committee's list of subpoenaed witnesses. But tonight, a Republican on that committee, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, is telling the Palm Beach Post that calling Acosta to testify is not, quote, off the table. She also says at any time he can be called to testify. I'm going to speak to the top Democrat on that committee in a moment about plans to subpoena Acosta, because even though dozens of victims had come forward at that point, Acosta, as I mentioned, let Epstein off easy, allowed him to plead guilty to just 2 prostitution-related charges. Epstein served only 13 months in a county jail and was allowed to leave the jail nearly every day for 12 hours. The Department of Justice review later found that Acosta exercised poor judgment in the case, although he continued to defend his actions years after the case was closed.
There was value to getting a guilty plea. You can always look at a play after the fact and say, should it have been the safe play, or should you have gone for the big score?
This comes as President Trump is, many think, trying to change the subject from Epstein as he threatens a full-on federal takeover of Washington, D.C. But it's Trump's own party who won't let Epstein go.
Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love. Once monthly supplement.
The American people are sick and tired of this government holding on to all these secrets. They're sick and tired of being lied to by the intelligence community and by a deep state. I hope that we don't have to wait 60, 70 years to find out what really happened when it came to Jeffrey Epstein.
So it's funny. It's funny, right? I wanted to go back to that because now, fast forward to where we've had the vote and everything like that, files have to be released. It's like, yeah, the American people, there had to be a mandate because they were tired of this, right? They're tired of it. This is why I talked about President Trump's favorability rating being kind of low. Like, so many people were like, oh, Q, it's because they hate President Trump and he's a sucky president, he's not doing his job. Well, there's a group of people that feel like that, sure, and I won't take away from that. But it's also because do what you said you were going to do. We could all agree that's ultimately the biggest reason why the favorability rating has dropped. Do what you said that you were going to do. So, yes, we see the numbers as far as immigration coming down. The people that wanted that, they're going to be ecstatic about that. But not when beef especially, everything still feels expensive, where it just still feels like nothing's really affordable in America. Everything feels tight. Everything feels uncomfortable. Dude, the people are not going to be happy about this. The favorability rating is not going to be through the roof if Americans feel that way.
If she's criticizing Israel, if she's criticizing foreign aid, if she's criticizing H-1Bs, if she's criticizing the GOP conference, in principle, I'm with her. And if she got punished for that, then I'm with her. The reason I'm actually relieved to see her go is because she is not a principled person.
Nick Fuentes just explained why he's actually happy about Marjorie Taylor Greene's recent decision to resign from Congress at the beginning of next year.
All right, guys, shout out to Liberty Vote. He's a channel favorite. Had him on the channel, reacting to him a couple times. Nick Fuentes, right? Problematic for a lot of people. Not problematic for me. 27-year-old kid has his opinion just like everybody else does. Pretty honest and straightforward, and I can appreciate anyone who's like that because that's just the type of personality that I can appreciate. So I wanted you guys to hear some of the things he had to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. He also talked pretty decent about her as well in the beginning, saying how surprising it was that she was actually resigning because she's been pretty popular, you know, since she started. She's gained some pretty decent traction in the last 5 to 6 years, I believe it's been. And yeah, if she wanted to run for something that was a higher office, she probably was in a pretty decent position, especially as of late, to do that. Yet we have her resigning. So I want you guys to take a look at some of the things Nick had to say about this. And I also wanted you guys to Liberty Vote's reacting to him, so I want you guys to take a look at Liberty Vote. You can check out his channel as well if you guys check him out on YouTube.
And in this clip, he talks about the schism that developed between Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, describing the latter as an unprincipled person, when many people, myself included, think that she's particularly principled for standing up to Trump on his worst excesses on the Israel First mentality and Epstein cover-up. So let's get right into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
So Madison Cawthorn, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Greene all have met the same fate. They all got elected to Congress, they stood up against the system, and then they got slapped down, they got pwned, they got slapped down by the machine. They're all MAGA, all pro-Trump, all anti-establishment. They all had their own ideas. They were all famous. They all maybe got a little too big for their britches. Very ambitious, not tactful. Very disruptive, not strategic. And each and every one of them got annihilated by the system. And I imagine most likely that is what happened with Marjorie Greene. I don't think actually this was a strategic move. I don't think this was a tactical move because it makes no sense. If you were going to take on the presidency or some other higher office, you would do so as a congresswoman.
And this is, see? And this is it. And this is exactly what I said. I said this before I started playing him. She had gained some pretty great popularity in the last 5 to 6 years. So if she were going to run for a higher office, she was positioning herself to do so and to do pretty well. Yet we see a resignation. This is why yesterday I'm like, let us find out Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the Epstein files. Like, what is going on? Even my wife was the one that pretty much put me onto it. Hey, do you know this person's resigning? And I saw it, but I hadn't reacted to it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, where is this coming from? Like, she can't just be this brokenhearted about President Trump. I'm just not buying that. So where else would this be coming from? Is it like something that she's going to say she's going to do, and then like January 3rd, she's going to be like, psych, no, I'm not really doing that? Let's keep listening.
And if Trump is crashing and burning, then you can articulate that in your position as a congresswoman or in your campaign. You can run as a survivor. The only reason why you might not want to stick it out is because if you do, they'll have the ability to make it really painful for you. So I'm not buying her explanation. I also don't think this is some segue into future political run. She might do that later, but I don't think that's the impetus behind this. I imagine she was either threatened or blackmailed. And I think that's the urgency.
Okay. So remember I said the first time I watched this video, Liberty Vote hadn't covered it yet, and I hadn't played it on the live with you guys yet. I just watched it on my own. So I didn't see Nick say this part, because every creator is going to cover a different part. he thinks that she was either threatened or blackmailed. So that would make sense as to why I said, let me find out Marjorie Greene. Let us find out Marjorie Greene is in the Epstein files. Like, what is happening, right? That's the blackmail part. But Nick says she could have been threatened. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. I wonder what... I mean, I don't know. Like, they already voted for them to be released. So I'm like, if someone did threaten her, what would be the threat? Like, it's already going to get released. So I think it's interesting that he brings those two to the table. I can see the blackmail part. The threatening part, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure where it would have came from, but...
Well, that's interesting. That's always possible. I mean, there'd be every amount of incentive for the regime to want to blackmail her. She has objected to unlimited and unconditional aid to Israel. She's wanted to stand up against the president's attempt to cover up the Epstein files for 11 months, using every trick in the book to do it. But it's interesting that Nick says that he doesn't believe the impetus behind this is other political aspirations, because in the last clip that I responded to and released, I believe yesterday it will be by the time you're watching this, he does seem to suggest that. He does seem to suggest that she was upset and angry that she didn't believe that she would be elevated into a cabinet position or be supported for a governorship run or something like that, and maybe even has presidential aspirations in 2028. So to hear him say now, in the second part of this video, and watch the full context if you don't agree with me on this, that the opposite, that it's probably blackmail, is interesting. I mean, we can always consider all possibilities, but I think that she is principled. I do think that it takes principle to stand up to this president when he has such rigid adherence among his coalition in Congress, outside essentially of the Epstein issue. Almost all of them follow him, even on the Israel issue, as Americans have completely turned away against that. So to me, she is heroic, even if we do have some disagreements, and we do.
I think that explains the timing.
If you live in a Delaware zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years,
she overthrows Trump on Epstein. It's a mutiny. I said it on Monday. I said, don't underestimate what a big deal this is. It's a huge deal. It's a mutiny. And Marjorie and Thomas Massey and Boebert and Mace, they led the charge. And for her to announce her resignation just a few days after that, that's a big deal. So I think she was threatened. I think that she was blackmailed. Something happened, but it was made clear to her that if she runs, her political career is going to end. I think.
Okay. I mean, I think Nick is making some good sense here. You know, I mean, that definitely does speak to the urgency. That definitely does speak to the urgency of it. Because I was like, man, the Epstein files are coming out and now Marjorie's leaving. Who doesn't know what's happening right now? But if she's threatened, that's a good position as well. Because depending on... Now, I'm confused because I'm saying to you guys, well, they already made the vote, so the files would come out. So what is there to threaten her about? But maybe someone has something else. Like maybe she's not in the Epstein file, but somebody else has something else. And because she made the noise, they're like, yeah, if you keep going this route, this is what we're going to do. It makes sense what Nick is saying.
That was intimated to her in some way, shape, or form.
Well, that's interesting. I totally agree with Nick that this is something of a mutiny from within the ranks of MAGA and the Republican Congress, for sure. Thomas Massey really being the only pure outsider of those group of four. But at the same time, if they wanted to ruin her because of this opposition, why not ruin her before this came to a vote, before Trump had to yield? Fine. You know, support this bill, release the files. I have nothing to hide after trying to cover it up for 11 months. Why not do it before that? That part doesn't really make sense to me.
And this is why I have mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, I stand with her in principle. If she's criticizing Israel, if she's criticizing foreign aid, if she's criticizing H-1Bs, if she's criticizing the GOP conference, in principle, I'm with her. And if she got punished for that, then I'm with her. The reason I'm actually relieved to see her go is because she is not a principled person. This is not a principled person at all. She is a...
Now, here's the funny thing about that, because when Nick talks to that, you have so many people that are like, I'm supporting Marjorie Taylor Greene right now and everything that she's doing, but she's so toxic. I see it all of the time. Like I have a lot of people that will say, Q, I'm supporting everything Marjorie's doing right now, but she drives me crazy, or she could be such a firecracker, or she's just incompetent. Like I've had you guys say tons of things on the live stream, right? So that's one thing there. Like a lot of people do feel like she is just a toxic politician, right? So when Nick says maybe she'll run later on, I'm thinking maybe she will. She does have the crowd for it, and like I said, as of late, she has gotten pretty popular. But nonetheless, toxicity does follow MTG. So let's keep listening.
A craven political opportunist. She is an egomaniac. She just isn't that smart. And you know, on some level, it's the more the merrier. The more people are saying the message, it's a great thing. But I think that someone like her, I don't trust her. I don't really see her as a viable leader. I don't see her as a leader of men because she is a woman. And I don't think that she actually really took a brave stand at any point in her career. I think that it was popular to support Trump when she supported Trump. I think that it was convenient to support McCarthy when she did that. And I think that when she took up the mantle of dissatisfaction with Trump this year, again, I think that's where the wind was blowing. And
okay, so this betrays something that Nick said in a previous show just this week, where he did give Marjorie Taylor Greene credit for standing with Massey on this issue to prevent Trump from covering up the Epstein files. He actually did give her credit for that. And I'm sorry that she's dumb just doesn't fly. If someone in Congress votes the way that I want continually, especially on the areas of focus that I do focus on, like the perverted Israel first mentality in Washington, they can be as dumb as they want, but I'd still support that person. And I can't see how you just think she's unprincipled, especially the last year. If you want to say she's a political opportunist, fine. She was in her past. She did align with McCarthy to get good congressional committee appointments, but in the last year, she isn't. You have to understand that, yeah, that's the wind direction blowing on the part of the culture the American people are turning against Trump on.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie here. I think both of them are making a good point. Nick and Liberty Vote. Like I just said earlier, we watch both sides on this channel because I like to be bipartisan. I like for us as Americans to be like that, right? I like that we have a choice, so we could look at both sides. I said it earlier on the live stream. You have a lot of Republicans upset with Trump. You have a lot of people who voted for President Trump upset with him, right? So that's not shocking. Nick's point is interesting. He said that she could have started out as a supporter for President Trump, but maybe never really was that, right? Maybe she just started out like that because it was convenient for her. Now, here's where I would push back on that a little. I mean, 5 or 6 years is a long go to just kind of pretend, right, Nick? But we've seen people pretend longer, right? So I think that that's an interesting take, and Liberty Vote seems to agree with him. But I think those are both interesting takes, and I think they're both very possible. Also, because she said it herself, she said, just because I do support President Trump, it doesn't mean that I have to agree with everything that he's doing. And I agree. Just because someone voted for Trump, I don't think that they agree with everything that he's done. I mean, he's done some pretty, some people say tyrannical things, right? I don't think someone who voted against him would disagree with everything that he's done. I think there's always going to be a kind of a balance there, or at least there should be. So let's keep watching what Nick says.
On Epstein and Israel, that's true, but not in Washington. In Washington, that mentality makes her a pariah. She's heroic and principled for doing that within the belly of the beast when the whole party establishment's against her, whether or not that's where the wind's blowing in the populace. Of course it is. Otherwise, you'd see more politicians that are, Machiavellian make the same turn as her. They ultimately did only because Trump said, yeah, vote for it finally, because he knew the gig was up. But she is principled. And she is heroic.
So I don't think she's very principled at all. I don't think she's taken a principled stand in her life. I think she's reactive. She follows the trends. She follows and reacts to things that happen to her. And so I find her to be not only untrustworthy because she lied about me and lied about her relationship with me and lied about her views.
Okay. So for those of you that might be a little bit confused about what Nick's talking about, I'm not sure how long ago it was, and I don't want to lie about it. I know Nick said this was a couple of years. He told this story himself. I watched it in a different video. But I think it was Tucker Carlson's interview, actually. Nick and Tucker Carlson's interview. And he talked about how Marjorie Taylor Greene came to one of his rallies or conferences, and she apparently was there in support of him. She spoke. She was aware of his views. Apparently she shared some of them, and then after she was done with the rally and or conference, she acted like she didn't know him. She acted like she had no idea who he was. So ever since then, I guess they've kind of had this little feud since then. So that's kind of why he's, that's why he can see or leave. That's why he says this is not a truthful person. This is not a reliable person. And this is probably some of the reasons why a lot of people equate toxicity with Marjorie. Like, I see that so often, like, it's kind of ridiculous, but it kind of follows her, unfortunately. So let's keep listening.
So I think she's a liar. I think she's not courageous. She is a follower, a bandwagoner, so she has no principles. She worked with Kevin McCarthy, and if it wasn't for Matt Gaetz, we would still have Kevin McCarthy. And it would have been her fault. When it was convenient, she sold us out and thought she was smart for doing that. And in the end, the only reason she sounds like us or adopted our talking points is because we popularized them, no thanks to her.
So here he goes, classic Nick, for all his merits on the Israel issue, which I do align with.
Hold up. Domino's medium specialty pizzas are just $9.99 when I mix and match?
The policy preference he has for cutting completely and decoupling from the Israel first mentality. He takes a personal beef and uses it to say, well, she's just doing this for the wrong reasons. Even though it's aligning completely with my policy preference, she's opposing Israel for the wrong reasons. He's also said this about Candace Owens at times, Tucker Carlson at times, Cenk Uygur at times on that issue, Dave Smith on that issue, Max Blumenthal on that issue. It just seems to drive a wedge between this growing coalition of people that are willing to buck the Republican establishment and Israel first toxic, unholy mentality in Washington, and it doesn't serve any interest. So Nick says, well, it's just political opportunism. That's where the wind's blowing. Would you say that if there was a measure in Congress introduced and every single Republican voted against all aid to Israel for perpetuity, would he say?
Now, some of this we talked about yesterday on the live stream. I mentioned it. I said, it seems like MAGA and America First are now two different things. They are no longer the same thing. And if you guys are wondering, well, where are you getting that from? That comes from Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson's interview. Ever since that interview, this is why people are saying there seems to be this big divide on the right? That people who are America First are truly America First, meaning they're not with all that aid to Israel, right? Now, this is me explaining what the two look like. They're not with all that aid. They're tired of the United States giving all this money to Israel, all of this aid, all of this, help and assistance. And it's like, if they kind of feel like Israel's pimping us out, for lack of better terms, right? And then you have the MAGA, and MAGA still loves Israel. MAGA still supports Israel. They still believe in Israel. They will still give Israel aid. They still support giving Israel the billions of dollars that we give them each year, even though they don't really answer many questions as to why they give it to them. So this is what I mean by this large divide. I think that it's like giving me fatigue at this point, and it hasn't even been happening that long. But just watching it, I'm just like, can you guys get it together? But let's keep watching.
Say the same thing? That's just where the wind's blowing, so we shouldn't care about that? No, I believe that if you really want to undermine the U.S.-Israeli alliance, which has tarnished this country and robbed our sovereignty, you would be applauding that. You wouldn't say, oh, that's just the way the wind's blowing, if that was actually your concern in your heart.
They became popular, no thanks to her. She didn't talk about this stuff. She didn't vote this way. She voted for foreign aid to Israel over and over and over again. She voted for foreign aid to Ukraine until it became unpopular. So, good riddance. I agree with Trump. It is great news for the country. And if the loyalty thing is true, loyalty does go both ways. She was not loyal to me. Good riddance. Everybody always wants to be ecumenical. Tucker was telling me, why are you attacking these people? A, they attacked me first. He goes, who cares? Okay, so which is it then? I'm the problem for attacking people, but them attacking me I should ignore that?
No, I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene did specifically attack Nick Fuentes. I think his beef is with some staffer of hers or something. I don't think that's true. If I'm wrong...
Yeah, so Liberty Vote, he probably hasn't heard the story yet. But that's why he feels like that. Because she basically betrayed him. She kind of just left him out there, acted like she didn't know him. And then from there, their relationship always kind of struggled. This is why he went to the fact that she's not a very integrous person. Because he's had that personal experience with her. And then, he lets it be known that she's voted for things that are extremely unpopular now. But in the past, she's voted for them and voted for them and voted for them until they became unpopular. So in this way, Nick feels like she's kind of like a snake, right? He's like, dude, she's hiding in the bushes. Like, she's done this stuff historically. And now that it's unpopular, she wants to say this. So, yeah, just to Liberty Volt's point, that's the reason why Nick feels that way. Because his personal interactions with Marjorie Taylor Greene just haven't been very truthful.
Let me know in the comments. I'm open to being wrong on that because I'm not sure. But what I can say that Nick is wrong about here is that Marjorie Taylor Greene has consistently voted against all major aid packages, both to Israel and Ukraine. For her duration in Congress, that is the case. She didn't keep voting for that. That's not substantiated by her voting record whatsoever. And in fact, she became someone that was pointed out for having done that, even with Israel. This was an aberration within the GOP that she didn't do that. And by the way, never collected aid from AIPAC, financing from AIPAC, just like Thomas.
Okay, so he has that, Liberty Vote has that information. I was under the impression that Marjorie had only done that for, I think it was the last 3 to 4 years. I was under that impression. I thought for sure 3, but I was thinking maybe 4. But he's saying, pretty much since she's been in there. So I can see how that's made her admirable, because I know that was something that certain Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, certain people had said that they had, not that they had necessarily appreciated that about her, but they weren't afraid to acknowledge it about her. Let's tread lightly on that, right? Because these are some pretty higher up people in the administration.
Massey. She's one of the only few in Washington that is. So Nick is either ignorant of that or repeating falsehoods here because of his personal beef.
No, fuck them. And Marjorie Greene, good riddance. Enjoy your honeymoon with your weird husband at RSBN. Good riddance. And by the way, she's a woman. So I never liked that to begin with. The idea that we were going to be led by a woman was, I'm surprised how many people fell for that.
Okay. Now, for those of you in the comments, don't get bent out of shape. Nick is only 27. He's like 26, 27. The oldest 28. So listen, for all of you guys that are his age or young, for all of you guys that are almost double his age, we say dumb stuff when we're young. So just like that's his point of view right now. He is not married. He does not have a girlfriend. All of that's probably apparent by the way that he's speaking. If it's not, you have that information now. He's not married. He does not have a girlfriend. So he doesn't even understand. Right now I think he's very tone deaf when it comes to relational tone. Right? So for those of you out there who have been in long relationships or you're married, you know what I mean by relational tone. Yeah, he doesn't have that. Nick sounds like he's either going to be on the couch a lot or kicked out of the house. But you guys tell me.
She's the one. She's going to be the leader. She's a woman. No offense. But I'm not about to follow a woman like that. What even is this movement about if it has a woman as its leader? Give me a break.
I mean, it's just crazy. She's not even a leader of that. That's your litmus test? Not whether you accept AIPAC aid. It's whether she's a woman. It's just insane. I don't care. It could be a woman or a man or a transvestite in Washington, in Congress. It could be a tranny voting the same way I wanted, and they'd be a hero. It doesn't matter. She's not a leader. She's not the president. Maybe she'll run for president, but no one looks to Marjorie Taylor Greene and says, yeah, she's the leader. Maybe some people would prefer her for president, certainly so, but it's not even a question of leadership. She's supposed to be a representative. And I know that's idealistic to think that, Congress members aren't in some ways our rulers, just like the president certainly is and the deep state certainly is. But she's a representative that actually cares about the desires of her populace above the Washington swamp. And that's principled, regardless of what sex you are.
So I agree. I mean, I think she's out of place to begin with. She should be home.
Oh, my God.
She divorced her husband. She got remarried. There's some weird affair going on there, some weirdo stuff going on there. Her husband, her new boyfriend from RSVN, is always posting pictures of them fucking hugging and kissing. Hey, nobody wants to see that, man. Aren't you guys both 60? Nobody wants to see a couple of 60-year-old crusty boomers making out. It's just kind of gross to look at, for crying out loud.
Okay, it isn't an affair. She's in a relationship with someone that started, I think, the year after she got divorced. But that's not...
Again, you guys don't pay Nick any mind. He's 27, so he just says dumb stuff all of the time. But listen, that's what he thinks. That's how he feels. That's his opinion. I'm not really ragging on the guy, but like I said, he's young. He's not married. He doesn't have a girlfriend. So let me see if I can go past some of this stuff.
Not an affair anywhere. Trump's attempt to cover up Epstein, and then right now,
going out, and who knows when. So I'm actually glad about the development. And you know what? You got to fight it out. I mean, look, either she got threatened or blackmailed and she's bowing out, and who knows what's being told to her, or she's dropping out because she's weak. You got to stick it out. She goes, I don't want to be a battered wife waiting for things to get better. Why did you get elected to Congress then?
That criticism, I think, is fair, actually. I think that was the worst part of her resignation, calling herself a battered wife. It's like, no, you just triumphed in a minority faction within your own party over the president, which is popular in your own party. You're not a battered wife. You're actually a valorous soldier right now. This is an incredible timing to resign from Congress. If you ask me, that's what confounded me the most, because she just stood with a small phalanx of true America First warriors in the Republican Party against Trump's attempt to cover up Epstein, and then portrayed herself as a battered wife. If you ask me, that was her worst mistake. It just looks bad optically, and you do have to suffer the slings and arrows when you're a congressman. Thomas Massey feels it every day too. There's only a few people in the world that can probably handle that. That's true. That is a given. I'll concede that. But still, she's not a battered wife. She's a hero to a lot of people right now.
You get elected to Congress to fight, to represent. And isn't that her whole deal?
So it's like to Liberty Vote's point, that's the thing. She is a hero right now. Some people do consider her a hero. And I think that's why her resignation was so shocking to a lot of people, because it's like, dude, you just, like you said, you just overcame something, versus the president. That's pretty powerful. Yet we see the resignation. So that's why when Nick talks to his urgency, I can't help but to agree with him on that, because I'm like, yeah, it has to be that she's either blackmail, which, like I said, that could be something, not necessarily that it's something with Epstein, but that she's being blackmailed some other way, right? Or that she's being threatened, which is also, she did speak to that. And even now we see a Democrat, right? We see Al Green go on the side and say, listen, her life is just as important as anybody's, right? So we have to make sure that, she is protected. So when Nick talks to the urgency of it, I say he's onto something there when it comes to she could be being threatened, which is really sad, but that unfortunately that could have prevailed, and that's why she's backing out.
I said, she's fighting for the people. I'm a fighter. I'm a truth teller. I'm doing this. Oh, and then it gets a little bit difficult. Then it gets a little bit hard. You've been there for 4 years. You've been there for 4 years, almost 5 years now. Couldn't hack it. That's why I'm so, at the end of the day, there was a critique of me many years ago where people said that I was hurting Congress people's careers, their careers mean nothing compared to this movement because, and I used to tell people in private, people like Marjorie Greene come and go. It's a revolving door. You think you're a big shot because you're working in a congressional office? You're not. These people are disposable. They come, they go, they rely on donations, they're not inspiring, they're not even that smart. If they can lay down their career to confer legitimacy upon this movement, it'll be the most productive thing they've ever done.
Well, I think it's just ridiculous to think that the resignation of Marjorie Taylor Greene would aid a movement designed to undermine Israeli influence in the U.S. government and the unholy alliance between the U.S. government and Israel and all that it comes with. The wars, the bankrolling of genocide, the inflation, the debt, $38 trillion in debt, just the warped mindset that it requires to prioritize that regime in the Middle East above the United States. And by the way, when it's not politically correct to even, criticize that regime as much as it is to criticize like an individual U.S. state, it's so absurd. And I just think it's so backward to say that this helps the movement that Nick Fuentes purports to lead, a movement that is designed to rid the U.S. of Israeli influence. It doesn't help that whatsoever by getting, Marjorie Taylor Greene out of Congress and applauding that and being happy with that development. It's just so stupid, and I really do think that this is just the extension of personal animosity he has with her over unrelated issues, letting that seep into the merits that she has. Because I promise you, if I got into a personal beef with a congresswoman or a congressman that happened to vote in every single direction in my preference on foreign policy, I'd still be like, well, we had a beef, but that's awesome. They're heroic in that aspect. Yeah. They're heroic in the aspect that I spend many hours on my own program talking about. So no one benefits, no one in America First truly benefits from Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning from Congress. I don't think that he can convince even many of his own audience members of that. I don't think he can convince all the groypers of that. She is seen as a unique figure in this movement. I'm with him when he says that no individual is more important than the movement, but she seems to align with what his priorities within his own movement are. On H-1Bs, on aid to Israel, on the Epstein cover-up, on things like that. But you're just going to taint her and tarnish her because she's flows with the wind? Well, she votes the way that her constituents want and that Americans want. When you properly notify people that Americans are turning away from this nonsense, it's a good thing. That's a reflection of their actual interests rather than the lobbied and politically connected interests in Washington. It's a good thing we should all celebrate. So yeah, I'm not with Nick on this one. I think the few points that he made where I do align with, including the battered wife thing, I think that was bad messaging and optically bad for her in general, is totally outweighed by her heroism, her courage to stand alone, essentially, but with Massey mostly, in the face of Republican tyranny and Republican spending, Republican
And we know President Trump's not happy at all about her support of Massey. He calls him like one of the worst Republicans ever, right? But I get the battered wife thing. They don't like it. I don't think they realize that Marjorie's talking from an emotional standpoint as a wife when she says that. So they're probably overlooking that a little bit, him and Nick. But yeah, of course she was extremely heroic and courageous, and she won a big battle for a lot of people, and they're going to appreciate and love her for it. I mean, that's what a representative should do. She also chose to represent a great group of women, a great large group of women who haven't had justice for years. So again, like I said, this wasn't surprising to me that a woman would be advocating for this. Not that a man can't, just wasn't surprising to me that a woman from Congress decided to advocate for this as hard as she did. It just made sense to me. That's why I felt like some of President Trump's remarks were extremely just unnecessary, because I'm like, dude, she's a woman advocating for women. Like this, you have daughters. This shouldn't be shocking to you, right? So let's move on to the next clip, guys.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you.
We are joined now by Nicholas Eberstadt, who's the author of the new essay collection called Human Arithmetic. Very, very interesting new book. Nicholas Eberstadt, thank you so much for joining us here on Breaking Points this morning. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to start with a section here from the introduction of the book, where you talk about how the damage from America's men without work problem, which you have written extensively on, quote, radiates outward. Their unnatural condition makes for slower economic growth, wider income and wealth gaps, increased welfare dependency, reduced social mobility, more fragile families, and a weaker civil society. And you go on, make some really interesting points here, but I wanted to ask that in the context of this news report. We can put this from Wall Street Journal up on the screen. The headline here, companies predict 2026 will be the worst college grad job market in 5 years. And I thought this was a good place to start, Nick, because you've been following this particular problem, and actually you've been helping us understand it with data and explanations, socioeconomic explanations for a long time. It seems as though this problem is poised to get worse, but I'm curious if you agree with that, what you're seeing in the data right now, and how people should be thinking about it.
Well, it would be a little bit more helpful if the government were actually producing the monthly data on the jobs reports that we kind of like to analyze. But we've been seeing a gradual flight from work by men and by older people. That the older people part is new. We're also seeing a somewhat weaker job market now, and that's probably not surprising given some of the uncertainties, real and perhaps needless, that we see in the job market now, in the economic outlook. Some of this is policy created. Some of this is business cycle. I don't think I would make general.
Now, the reason why I think this is so important is because they're making it seem like today that men aren't suffering, especially younger men. And we've seen this epidemic now, I would say at least for about 5 years. Some people might say 10. And I'd say they'd probably be closer to right than I am. But we've seen this for some time. Young men struggling with where they belong in the household, the money that they're making. Some of them are making substantially less than what they used to make compared to women. And all of this started to have a very large effect on younger men as they started to graduate from high school, go to college, go into the workforce, begin to start families. They all started to struggle from this, and everyone was acting like this wasn't really happening until they started making noises. It's funny because a lot of politicians will say, especially the ones that study the interactions of the younger people amongst other generations, that when the younger people got fed up with the government not listening to them, they started to elect the people that they thought would take care of them. Hence the reason why we have Zohran Mamdani in place right now. Because younger people are voting for people that they think will help them. They're saying, hey, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. What are you going to do to change my life? So even if it's a candidate that historically we would never, ever, ever think about putting in office, the younger generation's like, I'm willing to throw the dice because we need the help.
Realizations about long-term trends from a single year. Let's just say that.
Well, I mean, so what are you seeing overall when it comes to young men? And what has surprised you? And has anything surprised you about it as somebody who's been kind of monitoring this for some time?
Well, I mean, the only thing that's a surprise is that so many people seem to be surprised by it. This didn't start yesterday. This is a historical trend that's been underway since the 1960s. But because we are still fighting the last war with our employment numbers, our jobs reports our framework was developed in 39 and 40 to track the Great Depression, when it would have seemed outlandish to think that a guy who didn't have a job wouldn't be looking for one. So we have a set of numbers that are great for looking at unemployment, but nowadays, for every guy who's out of work and looking for a job, there are over 3 who are not looking for work. And if you are using just the unemployment metric, you're missing over 3/4 of the problem. We have a work rate for 25 to 54-year-old guys today that is basically at the 1940 level, which is the tail end of the Great Depression. So we've got a Great Depression scale problem for work for guys. And if we don't look at it, we're going to be surprised by a lot of other things that are happening in America.
And it's amazing how it lurks under the surface and gets so little attention in the ways that you describe it. Because you've studied for a long time the effect, particularly that deindustrialization, but also, welfare programs, and you and I may disagree a bit with Ryan on that. But if we focus on deindustrialization, just specifically with this AI transformation of the economy coming, we've seen the effects that, these rapid changes in jobs have had in, places like where I'm from, the Rust Belt, and outside Milwaukee, for example. Is that something people seem like they're about to replicate at an even larger scale with AI? How are you thinking about the changes that are about to appear like they're about to happen in the American economy with the examples we've seen in the last several decades?
I don't want to make a fool of myself in front of you by making categorical predictions about AI because it's evolving so rapidly that I'm not sure that anybody knows exactly where it's going to be in 5 years, much less 15 years. What we can say in general, looking at past technological innovations, is that people who have skills are able to kind of harness the new technologies and multiply their productivity and their incomes, and people who don't have skills are more likely to be displaced. So under any circumstances, we want to be skilling up our young people. But in the face of this new AI wave, that makes it, I think, even more imperative. I should say that one thing we also miss about what's going on in the United States is the extraordinary variety, disparity of circumstances from one community to the next. When I was a young guy, we'd talk about the Deep South or Appalachia or later the Rust Belt. But again, this is something that kind of escapes us because we don't collect good information on it all the time. 3/4 of the difference in work rates and workforce participation rates for young adults, for young guys, is now within states. I mean, you go 10 miles and you find radically different employment prospects, community prospects, all within given states in the USA. And we're kind of blind to this because, number one, we don't collect the right information for it. Our information systems are way behind the times. Number two, we need journalists who will actually go out and talk to human beings and take a bus and go from one community to the next. Because doing that, you get the kind of the human face on this nerdy sort of number stuff that I do in my basement, so to speak.
And so you talked about there being 3 men, what, did you say 25 to 34 or 25 to 44?
25 to 54 is the usual.
So 25 to 54. So for every man who's looking for work and can't find it in that category, there are 3 men who aren't looking for work. And I think all of us can answer this question kind of anecdotally and make our own guesses at it. But what do the data say about how those men are surviving? Like, how are they? Where are they living? How are they getting by? How are they feeding themselves? If they have families, how are they feeding their families?
Well, as best one can tell from the limited information we have, there's numbers and things that I sift through. They get by with help of their they get by with the help of their friends. They get by with the help of their family, and they get by with the help of their uncle, and his name is Sam. There's over half of the guys who are neither working nor looking for work seem to be obtaining one or more disability program benefits. I'd be a little more informative about this, except that our crazy quilt of disability programs don't talk to each other. And so there's nobody in Washington who can tell you exactly how many Americans, much less prime age guys, are obtaining these disability benefits. You can't live a princely life on them, but quite evidently it is possible to live a life where you do not engage with the with the labor market anymore.
And you also, Brandon, you have, okay. You also raised about the
and clearly it wouldn't be ideal to just leave men to the point of what just disability. That wouldn't be ideal, right? So I think it's interesting that the way that they're talking about it, they're not ignoring it any longer. They're noticing it, but at the same time saying no one on Capitol Hill is doing anything, as if the problem doesn't start, with them individually as well.
Fact this has
is the extraordinary problem of ex-cons in America. Because ex-cons are almost invisible in our country, and yet it is a gigantic army at this point. We do not collect information on ex-cons. Once they're out of the correctional system, they're invisible as far as our stat guys are concerned. But my own back of the envelope, working on some, I think, pretty good research by some of my, defiant nerd demographer colleagues, suggests that 1 in 7 adult guys has a felony record in his background. Do we really think that this has nothing to do with the circumstances that we find ourselves in today? Shouldn't we be at least...
See, and that's interesting. He said 1 in 7 adult guys, right? He didn't even he didn't even talk about race here. So that's why I said it really is an epidemic that many people just aren't paying attention to. Let's see what he says next.
A little bit curious about this, how people live, how they reintegrate into society or repair their job reputations.
Yeah,
it's all anecdotal now because we don't collect the information that would allow us to see what's working and what's not working.
Right.
Yes, I'm
gonna stop that right there. He makes a great point. I think he makes a great point. And it is anecdotal because once they get out of the system, they do become invisible. No one's really hiring convicts, ex-cons, like people who've been to prison. No one's really hiring them, right? And if there is a place that does, the place really doesn't get, for whatever reason, because it's probably a good thing, they don't get a spotlight in the news or anything like that. So I always thought that, one, that was horrible because they act like people who have been to jail or have a record don't have skills. Some of them, before they've been to jail, they were accountants, and some of them were construction workers, and some of them worked in corporate America. So I just think it's interesting the way they face the discrimination they do. I would always tell my wife, dude, that would be the easiest pool to hire out of, because at the end of the day, it's just about the charges that you feel most comfortable with as an employer. It's whatever you could stomach. But I really think there's an epidemic going on that I hope to see improve soon. I know I'm doing my part. We all need to do our part. One as men, and pray for one another. Just pray for the healing of the minds, men, and for more men to come to Jesus, because you're not really going to get your mind healed just on your own. It's just not going to happen. And you guys know I'm not going to say that on the channel. All right, let's go to the next clip.
Nearly home. Who done it?
We're looking for a house closer to everything, but we don't know where to start.
Hi, Congressman. Thank you for coming on the show. So first off, do survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse and the American public are still awaiting the full release of the Epstein case files. After moments of delay, President Trump signed a bill passed nearly unanimously by Congress into law last week that compels the Justice Department to make those materials public within 30 days. Joining us now to discuss this and more is Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He is the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. Hi, Congressman. Thank you for coming on the show. So first off, do you have any updates on when the Justice Department plans to release the Epstein files?
No updates, but we are fully expecting and demanding complete disclosure of the Epstein files, just with the names of victims redacted where it's appropriate.
I want to ask you about Democratic Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett. Last week, as you know, there was a failed censure effort over her text with Epstein during an oversight hearing in 2019. He was a known sex offender. She acknowledged Epstein's influence in her line of questioning during that hearing on this show when we had her on, but would not say it was an error in judgment. Here's how you defended her on the House floor last week so our viewers can listen.
However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents. They've arraigned a Democratic member for taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing. And of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing.
And to be clear, she initiated the text chain on that day. But are Democrats losing the moral high ground on the Epstein issue by defending her as you have?
Well, look, we've been demanding a complete release of the file, and now they wanted to discipline her, censure her, because she'd engaged in that text exchange with a convicted criminal. Of course, our Republican...
Now, I got a chance to watch some of this, and of course, Hakeem Jeffries came to the rescue and was like, there's no way that I'm allowing you guys to censure or basically discipline this person in any way when you have Trump and his administration that has all this access and all these dealings with Epstein. And I'm like, okay, Hakeem, come on, bro. You're killing me right now. And also, of course, when she went up to Plackett to defend herself, she said things to the effect of like, I wasn't aware that Jeffrey Epstein had been charged with certain things when I took the money. Why are we focusing on what happened with me instead of focusing on what President Trump... It was really ridiculous to me, but we're going to keep watching.
Republican colleagues engage in text exchanges all the time with Donald Trump, who has 34 felony criminal offenses to his name. So I don't know exactly what she's being charged with there. My point was simply she had not violated the Constitution, she had not violated federal law, and she had not violated, to my knowledge, any rule of the House of Representatives. Look, we're not afraid of anything that's in the Epstein files, and we want to see justice done for the survivors. That's what this is about. We want to see the truth come out, and it's the Republicans who are running around trying to figure out who's in there and who's going to be implicated, and that's not our approach to it. But Stacey Plaskett obviously didn't violate any law, or they didn't even allege that she violated a rule of the House of Representatives. What rule did she violate? People text and email and call us all the time. I mean, do I have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein? No. It's unfortunate that he's got some people's phone numbers, but he's no longer with us. The point now is, can we do justice for the victims and the survivors of this nightmare? Because we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of crimes that were committed, if not thousands of crimes that were committed by a billion-dollar enterprise.
Yeah, and we've had many victims on, and we've been very focused on that. Just to be clear, that use the example of the president. Texting with the president of the United States is different than...
And that's a big deal. That's a big deal when he's saying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of crimes have been committed, billions and billions of dollars. Like, that's all a big deal. That's not like a small thing. These are like huge crimes that are basically going undealt with, right, at this point. Basically, they're allowed to be legal crimes. So that's why he's pointing this out. Let's keep listening.
And a pedophile, right? I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was more than just a constituent. He was... Hold on, let me just finish. He was a known sex offender. He was also a donor, right? He was a donor. And Stacey Plaskett, in her deposition in 2023, acknowledged she went to Epstein's New York home to solicit money for the Democratic Party in 2018. So I guess my question for you is, I know you have a relationship with her. You were an impeachment manager with her, right? But if this were a Republican in the same situation, would you still excuse it?
Well, in other words, are you saying would I want to censure someone just because they had a phone call with a convicted felon and an adjudicated sex assailant? Because that's what Donald Trump is. Remember, he's got an adjudicated sexual assault charge in New York that he was convicted of, in addition to the 34 criminal felonies. So I'm not quite sure what your point is here. Should we be censuring anybody who's on a phone call with a felon?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, would you be defending a Republican who was in the same position, texting with Jeffrey Epstein?
I did.
Texting with Jeffrey Epstein after he was a known convicted sex offender, and just be calling it a constituent when in fact he was a donor and there was more there.
One of the things students love about Culinary School Online with the Scopier is the toolkit.
Well, I mean, we could take the example of the Republican serial liar and fraudster from New York. I'm spacing his name out right now, who left Congress, who was just
George
pardoned
Santos?
by.
Is that what you're talking about, George Santos?
George Santos.
Okay.
Yeah, I defended George Santos. They wanted to expel him because they considered him inconvenient, but he had not had a criminal conviction, he had not had a civil conviction, and he had not gone through the ethics process. And that was my whole point with Stacey Plaskett. If you think she's violated a federal law or a rule of the House, charge her with it and let's take it through the ethics committee. But she hadn't been charged with anything. Nope.
Yeah, part of the reason she hasn't been charged with anything is because Hakeem Jeffries, he wasn't going for it. He was so upset about it. He's like, there's no way we're doing this. And Donald Trump and his cabinet, his pedophile ring, da-da-da-da. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me right now. Just up there being totally unprofessional about his president, but basically laying it down and saying these are all the reasons why they're not doing anything to plaque it. So I was just kind of like, okay, Hakeem, we see what you're doing, Hakeem. We see you're doing the same thing you always do. You're not answering questions, but you're fighting for. And I mean, the only reason why it stresses me out is because I'm thinking to myself, Hakeem, it looks less guilty, right? It looks less like someone has something to hide if they just go through the process. I know the process sucks, but it just looks less guilty. But he's not thinking like that. He was just going on a rampage.
That was my simple point. And I know the Republicans are saying the Democrats defended Stacey Plaskett with respect to Jeffrey Epstein. We did not. We said we need to have a process here. She's not charged criminally. She's not charged civilly. And you haven't lodged any ethics complaint against her. And I said the exact same thing with George Santos. And you can go back and see that I voted not to expel him because there was no process.
So just to be clear, you weren't defending her in that text exchange.
I was not morally defending her. Like I said, Jeffrey Epstein never had my phone number. I would never give it to him. But that's not the standard whether or not we censure someone and use the disciplinary process in Congress against them. So that's just Republican propaganda.
Okay,
I mean, they understood exactly
well, that's why
what they were
I wanted
saying.
to ask you about that, because that had gotten a lot of play and Republicans had been talking about that and saying that there's a double standard.
Yeah.
And obviously you have been on the forefront of the Epstein issue, wanting to release the files in recent months. I'm just wondering, the reality is, you say, we're not afraid of anything, but the reality is a lot more could come out when these files, if and when these files are released to the public, right? For Republicans and for Democrats, right? Jeffrey Epstein was a donor to both parties. Yep. Are Democrats having discussions about how to handle that if more members of your party are embroiled in anything having to do with Epstein?
I literally have not had one Democrat in the House or the Senate or, a former administrative official come to us and say, hey, you better slow down. That might embarrass one of our people. I mean, Larry Summers has had to resign from a whole bunch of boards and is apparently saying he's ashamed and disgraced by what's come out. Well, then that was a decision that he made. And, we hold no brief for him. Nobody should be involved with $1 billion international global child sex trafficking ring. If, you listen to the survivors on your show, for example, people will know that the people involved in that were guilty of some very gruesome actions. And so to the extent that people are involved in it, they're going to have to own up to it. And if there are continuing crimes that have gone on or other crimes that weren't prosecuted, that should be part of this process. But remember, it was the Trump Department of Justice that summoned all the materials, took the case away from Maureen Comey in New York, and then they killed the investigation in February. They said there's nothing left to see here, and it's only because we've demanded the release of the files that it's possible that there will be more justice done when, discoveries are made about whether there was abuse and rape that took place and trafficking of other individuals. But remember, the Trump Justice Department tried to kill it.
Yeah, no, you're right. They did release that memo saying there's nothing here.
And this right here, just what they're talking about. There's nothing here. Some people say Trump lost the country when he looked at everybody and said, what Epstein files? This right here is this is probably, if not the top, one of the top reasons why Donald Trump's favorability rating has dipped the way it has. I talked about it yesterday. It's about the American people put you in office, do what you said you were going to do. The minute he looked at the American people and he said, what Epstein files? I knew it. I was like, well, this is going to be a problem because this is one of the things that he decided in his campaign trail to mention that he would make sure that he put out there. All right, guys, let's go to the next news clip.
Whether you're a professional technician or simply take pride in maintaining your own cars.
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with some weapon-grade crazy before elevating to some...
We have some breaking news. We have multiple reports on not only AOC's plans for 2028, but also Marjorie Taylor Greene's. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
All right, you guys. Shout out to Keith Edwards. You guys can go over to his channel and check him out. Keith Edwards, pretty prominent guy on Democratic side, left side guy, but I would say pretty reasonable, unless he just doesn't like you or can't stand you. Keith, don't come for me. But Keith's a channel favorite. I reacted to him on the channel a couple times. So let's take a listen about what he had to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
In 2028 are something we might have to actually start considering. Now, this is the Washington Post talking about AOC and how she's built a machine and now she's deciding how to move it. And this is with interviews with people who are within her campaign. And this is the following. Ocasio-Cortez is at a crossroads facing decisions about what to do with the movement she has built and the relationships she has developed. And it goes on to say, she is seriously weighing a Senate or presidential run in 2028, according to 3 people familiar with her plans, who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to disclose private conversations. Quote, I know I'm being...
Okay. You guys tell me. You guys tell me, because I feel like if AOC runs in 2028, if she does a Senate run, that's one thing. If she does a presidential run, I feel like the map will literally look like it did with Kamala. If AOC, this is not Gavin Newsom we're talking about, or even Josh Shapiro. We're talking about AOC. Yeah, I feel like I don't think it would matter who the Republicans put up. I can't see it yet. I don't know if it's because she's still kind of young. I don't know what it is. A lot of people say she's way too far left. Like, no way. Maybe America still doesn't want a female president. Who knows? But I don't see it in 2028 with AOC. A Senate run, sure. A presidential run, not so much.
Being asked about New York, that is years from now, said AOC recently, referring to a possibility of a Senate run. She went on to say, I have to remind my constituents because they think that this election is this year. It goes on to say here that Ocasio-Cortez would not make a symbolic run. According to a person who has spoken to her, she does not believe she needs to be the progressive standard bearer in the race, provided another person steps up to fill the role. Quote, if she runs, she wants to win. So if there is an opening for a progressive slot, the way that a lot of primaries work is that each person tries to carve their own lane, and there's always a progressive candidate. It's been really Bernie Sanders for the past few cycles, and Elizabeth Warren to some degree as well. So what it's saying here is that AOC wouldn't just run just to be able to have that lane spoken for, but she would only do it if she felt like she could win. Now, I'm wondering how you feel about this. There is more reporting, but let me know in the comments if you think AOC should run for president or if she should do what they're going to allude to here, and that is primary Chuck Schumer.
On a vacation rental, if it's not listed on Booking.com, it's invisible to millions of travelers.
Now, there are people who don't think AOC should run. It says here, not all Democrats welcome the prospect of an AOC presidential run.
Yeah, especially so soon after Kamala Harris. See, it even says there, especially so soon after Kamala Harris. So that's what I'm saying. And I said a Senate run might be more possible, and I don't think she would necessarily get demolished. Probably not at all in the Senate run, especially because lately she's gained a lot of traction, and if she keeps it. But a presidential run, I don't see that. And that's why they say it right there on the screen, especially after Kamala Harris. So watch this.
Especially so soon after Kamala Harris, whom Republicans painted as a radical San Francisco liberal, lost to Trump. Republicans have attacked Ocasio-Cortez as an extremist for years. Trump has insulted the Latina congresswoman, calling her, quote, one of the dumbest people in Congress. That's what he likes to say about most women of color who have power, and suggesting she and other members of the House's squad of liberal women of color go back to where they came from. While right-wing influencers have gone after her in sexist terms, Democrats reject these attacks, but some fear they've damaged her. Others believe the party must tack to the center on social issues and crime to win presidential elections, not run on one of the most liberal figures. And then there's a former union leader here that said, I think the right wing's done such a number on her that I think she'll have a difficult time. I hope she runs for the Senate. I also hope she runs for the Senate, but I don't think they're right here when it comes to what they're saying. I think that there's a way, Mamdani shows that there's a way to actually defend social issues and also be a populist, and I don't think those things have to be completely separate. So I don't know. I think that if AOC wants to run, let her run. I think we should have Democrats of all shapes and sizes run. We should have the blues the blue and perhaps more purple. And I think the best thing we could do, though, is have a primary. I just want a primary. Now, it says here on her going after Chuck Schumer, it says this. I don't agree with this, but a strategist said, even if you have a huge national profile, you've got to get to the early states, and he doesn't see her doing that. But there is problems, too, that there is a poll that came out that says that 24% of independents said they held a favorable view of her, and 31% of all Americans said they had no opinion of her. So she has an uphill climb if she were to run nationally, but still, Gavin Newsom said that she's so popular within our own party that he actually called on her to help get his amendment passed that redistrict California. Now, for the Senate run, it just says this. A Senate run would not be a surefire winner either. She would need to build her profile in rural areas of her state and could be up against a longtime fixture of Democratic politics, Schumer. And to that I say, if AOC wants to be a senator, she will be a senator.
Yep.
For sure. It's really just she want to run for president because that is her seat to take. I don't know what you're talking about, rural states.
Yeah, I just don't think she'll have an issue being a senator at all. I just feel like the presidential one, I feel like it might be a little bit soon, even if it is about 3.5 years or more than that from now. I feel like it's kind of soon. And every time I think about it, I'm like, dude, I just don't know if she's going to get the votes. I feel like the map is going to look similar to the way that it did with Kalama. So I just don't know.
In rural areas of New York, yeah, I mean, you have to win over moderates. But I'm telling you, economic issues go beyond party lines. I think that's what we're learning now, more and more. Economic issues, people vote with their pocketbook, and people vote for those who understand the struggles they're coming from, the struggles they're experiencing. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because not only is AOC being talked about for 2028, there's reporting from Time magazine that says Marjorie Taylor Greene has privately told allies that she has considered running for president in 2028, according to 2 people who have spoken with her directly about the prospect and 3 others familiar with her thinking. Marjorie Taylor Greene did not respond to multiple calls and texts seeking comment about this story. A spokesperson for the Congresswoman also did not reply to multiple requests for comment. Notice, another publication, has previously reported that Marjorie Taylor Greene was telling people she wanted to run for president. Now, what's interesting is she did not respond to this, but she went on a long attack here. Oh my God, it's so long. But let's read it. I think it's important to read. Time claimed sources told them I'm running for president in 2028, which means this is a complete lie. I don't think it is, just for the record. Like, I don't think Time Magazine would lie about this. I don't trust this slippery snake, but she's calling it lying, not journalism. She says, I'm not running for president, never said I wanted to, and have only laughed about it when anyone would mention it. If you fell for those headlines, you're still being lulled every day into psychosis by the political industrial complex that has an agenda when it does something like this. Running for president requires travel all over the country, begging for donations all day, every day to raise hundreds of millions of dollars, arguing political talking points every day to the point of exhaustion, destroying your health, and having no personal life in order to attempt to get enough votes to become president, all to go to work to a system that refuses to fix any of America's problems. Now, I want to read more of this because I actually think, I know we're getting towards Thanksgiving, and if you're in the United States, you know what Thanksgiving is. I don't have to explain it. Time for family. If you're not doing Thanksgiving, then man, you're not in this country. Then I suppose maybe you could still learn something from this. But what I'm going to read for you in this missive is I actually think these are like the keys to the kingdom. She's talking about the ways in which Trump and the Republican Party have not helped Americans. Okay? Now, I'm going to list all these things. I actually think this is something you could say to your conservative relative, to your Republican family member. These are things that they would probably agree on, because Marjorie Taylor Greene freaking says it, okay? So here we are. Are you happy with $38 trillion in debt and the fact that it will only get drastically higher? Are you happy that Social Security won't be able to pay full benefits starting in 2033, and most of us will never receive any benefits at all? Are you happy that Democrats, okay, well, this part is obviously a little convoluted, but it's for the Republicans. Democrats created our healthcare crisis with Obamacare and tax credits, and Republicans refused to fix it. Are you happy about paying taxes on literally everything and being one of the highest taxed people on earth? Are you worried we might be invaded one day, and ignoring the fact that our government already allowed us to be invaded not only through southern border, but also by constantly handing out legal visas that steal your jobs? Are you afraid we might go to war, but ignore the fact that our own government already sent us to war to fight for the foreign countries and cause not our own for decades already? So, in that nugget, I feel like I agree with 80% of that, just to throw out a number. But debt, Social Security, healthcare, taxes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Going to wars that we don't want to go to, absolutely. That shit right there, should I agree with? Shit your family member can agree with? So I think this is something that for sure people on the left need to pay attention to, because she's saying things to appeal not to liberals and progressives, but to appeal to conservatives. But these are things that we all kind of agree on. So is Marjorie Taylor Greene running for president? I don't trust her one bit. She very well might. We don't know. She's saying no, but she could. She's a slippery snake. But is she telling us how to run candidates and talk about issues that can appeal to more people? Absolutely. And I will take that with me.
And this is where she's been able to win over the hearts of the Democrats. This is where you literally had people say things like, Marjorie's going to go over to blue. She's going to go over to the Democratic side. I'm like, she's not going to be a Democrat. But this is because, like I said, she's a woman. She's advocated for women who she feels like for many, many years they have not received justice. All of this made sense to me. Not sure why it was made a big deal to President Trump at all, to where name calling started. Nonetheless, it happened. We can't go back. But let's see what happens with Marjorie. She has until January 5th. If she resigns, she resigns. Possibly. Like Nick said, she'll come back. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. But let's move to the next clip, guys.
Hurry in for Black Friday now at Boscov's. Ashley Cooper fleece and flannel sheet sets, now just $19.99.
Friends, the Charlie Kirk Show team here. America's debt bomb has blown past $37 trillion, and it's climbing every second. President Trump is fighting for fair trade and strong borders to slow the train wreck, but the numbers don't lie. When debt grows this fast, it can threaten your savings and your family's future. That's why more Americans are turning to real assets like gold and silver. I work with and recommend Preserve Gold. They make it simple to own physical gold and silver, even inside your retirement accounts like an IRA or 401k. Text USA to 50505 for their free wealth protection guide. With a qualified purchase, you represent. Let's play one because she's being called the AOC of Tennessee, and so it's Democrat Afton Ben. And she is taking incoming because she is on the record now saying that she hates the city she wants to represent. Let's play 135.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently and its city to the rest of the country, but I hate it. Yeah, I'm that girl at the airport that all these bachelorettes are giddy walking out there in their two-tone colored Pantone pink shirts, and they walk out and I'm like, oh my god, Nashville! That's so loud.
Scott, before we dunk on her, that woman could be elected to Congress next week. So, again, if you live in the 7th District, you can vote right now. Early voting goes through Wednesday. Cast your vote now.
Scott, your reaction.
Welcome to the modern left. I mean, this is effectively a great hood ornament for what the Democratic Party has become. These sort of vapid liberals who really hate the people they live around. This district, by the way, is partly Nashville, but it also includes a huge swath of rural Tennessee. Does that sound like someone who's got anything in common with rural Tennessee? It doesn't me. On top of that, you may have seen that she has been a longtime supporter of defunding the police. She went on MSNBC this weekend and refused to denounce those views that she has espoused for years about defunding the police. I mean, this person couldn't be farther from the center politically of that district than she is. But this is where the energy in the Democratic Party is right now. She's the AOC of Tennessee. I mean, these sort of charismatic.
And I'm not gonna lie, like so to me, this is crazy work right now. For like all the verbiage he's using, AOC of Tennessee, crazy work. Defund the police in Tennessee. I'm like that's insane. So just listening to these things, I'm like, okay, there's no way that this person should gain any traction. Right? But then when I think about the 4 states that got swept by Democrats, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't think Tennessee's going to do this. I would hope that they wouldn't, but...
Oh boy. Condescending, hateful, socialist-style candidates, that's who they're nominating. That's who they're trying to put forward all over this country. And in a special election, anything could happen. So my advice to Republicans down there is, don't sleep on this. Trump won this district over 20 points, but Democrats are pouring money into it for a reason. You think that's the kind of person you want in Congress? Think again.
A race we should win. But, I mean, the headline today on the Hill is Democrats look to cap off winning streak with Tennessee special election. They are paying attention to it. They are putting money into it. We have to acknowledge they're a little more fired up right now, as they were during Trump's first term. That's how we got, it started off with John Ossoff running for House, and I think he lost the first time, but it was very close, I think is what it originally was. And then he just gained more and more momentum. So if you are in Tennessee, I know you're out there, go vote early right now. You can do it today. You can do it tomorrow. You can do it Wednesday. Do it now. Get it out of the way.
Yep.
Otherwise, vote on Tuesday and put this to bed. Don't allow us to lose this. If we lose this one, it will be really embarrassing and really bad for everything.
Yeah, that Scott, 20 seconds to you if you want to cap that off. If not, we can go to radio. We'll get your thoughts in.
Look, I mean, these Democrats have gone from defunding to dehumanizing and degrading the police. I can't imagine there's anybody in Nashville or surrounding areas that wants their representative in Congress to view law enforcement in that way. So if you need only one reason, that's it.
I mean, at the end of the day, viewing them that way is not going to get you the help that you need. This is why I think this is just interesting, because he said, but Scott Jennings puts it a good way. They went from defund and they just kept progressing, and I think to where we are at a very dangerous point today. There's no reason why we should defund the police. We just need to follow the law, obey the law, and then, as Scripture says, the law will honor us. But there's no reason to defund the police. I actually think that that's crazy. Maybe discipline, sure.
Something a little more sophisticated. But first, the crazy. This next clip features Katie Couric. That's the former NBC anchor, you know, the gal who thought it was a good idea to dine with Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted, after it became clear that he was a filthy pedophile. Well, here is Katie with gal pal MSNBC anchor Jen Psaki.
More and more of the questions in there are by sycophants, are by people who are not asking about news that the American people cares about, you know, putting out conspiracy theories. There are people who, and they're getting a lot of the questions.
Conspiracy theories, she says, like the Russian collusion hoax you and the Democrats, other propagandists in the media pushed relentlessly for 4 years. Imagine how crazy and warped your view of the world is if you think Donald Trump is getting an easy ride from the media. Now let's hear the ladies turn up the hyperbole.
That's a huge, huge problem because it's becoming more of a Kremlin-esque press corps.
Right, and they've invited a lot of reporters from very right-wing media outlets, and you're right, they usually say, I forget, there was one example, like, did you ever believe that you would be the peacemaker?
God forbid that the White House press corps would be representative of the country and not exclusively filled with hard-left activists. And I love that the most egregious examples you can find of a terrible question is what about Trump being a peacemaker? Katie, the man did oversee 8 peace deals in his second term. It hasn't even been a year. Now let's hear from 2 other young ladies who display similar intellect and judgment to Jen and Katie.
Seem very misogynistic, realistically.
So what is misogyny? So why are you using words that you don't even know the definition of?
No, that's not what I meant.
What does misogynistic mean? I just went whole.
She's heard it in the news before. She's heard podcasters use it. So that's why she's using it. I think it's hilarious where he's like, why are you using words that you don't understand what they mean? But these social experiments, I watch all the time. Like, I've watched one where a guy goes to people who have recently graduated, like really young Gen Zers who have graduated and millennials, and he is asking them the craziest questions, like, how many letters are in the word 7? It's just ridiculous to watch.
What you're calling me?
Okay, so the reason I said it is just, again, based on
Because you heard on the internet?
Nah, bro, are you stupid?
The nerve to call him stupid after that performance. The American education system has failed those two. Maybe if they read a book or two instead of watching Mel Robbins' videos on Instagram, they'd be a little bit smarter. And talking about Mel Robbins, she made an appearance on Bill Maher's program, and sadly she is a typical ill-informed awful. That's affluent, white, female lefty.
Like, I see so many people are upset about him building a ballroom. I could give a I don't shit about it.
We're paying for it, whether you
No,
voted
we're
for it or not.
No, we're not paying for it.
She really should stick to giving terrible advice to sad girls on the internet because she clearly knows nothing about politics. How did she miss the most pertinent fact about the ballroom, that it's not taxpayer funded? And let's stick with Bill Maher, who gave this blistering assessment of Larry David, the once funny, once genius comic who has allowed his Trump derangement to run amok.
This is so childish, so purely emotional. The people who got all butthurt because I had dinner with him, you know, because he's Hitler. Except he's not. So unhelpful and dumb. Trump is the most supportive president Israel and the Jews ever had. You know, every year I used to ask Larry David to do real time, and he'd always say, Bill, I can't. I'm not smart enough about politics to do your show. Yeah, I get that now.
You know what? Bill Maher is proof that there is a cure for TDS. He was among the worst offenders, folks. He would sit right there with nutbags like Robert De Niro, give them a platform to spew their nonsense, and he would back it up. He would make the most outrageous claims about Trump. But though he remains a lefty and he's also a Democrat still, he's no longer raving like a lunatic, so growth. Now to a video that has caused all sorts of uproar because the president correctly labelled it seditious. Here we have Democrats calling for members of the military to break the chain of command and disobey orders. I'm just going to play you 10 seconds of this nonsense.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders. Now, typically, CNN anchor Jake Tapper has joined the Democrats in claiming that Donald Trump is giving illegal orders to the US military and that individuals could be charged for following those orders. And of course, he's far more upset by Trump reacting to the sedition than the sedition itself.
President Trump's wildly inappropriate and potentially dangerous call for 6 members of Congress to potentially be executed or hanged because President Trump's wildly inappropriate and potentially dangerous call for 6 members of Congress to potentially be executed or hanged because they issued a video reminding members of the military that they do not have to carry out illegal orders glosses over the fact, because Trump's reaction was so out of control, that this issue of illegal orders is not a new one. There's this new movie out starring Russell Crowe.
But that makes sense because I was saying, what did President Trump say to the Democrats to make him go kind of crazy, make them go crazy and think that, oh my God, he needs to be impeached because he's saying Democrats need to die by death. So it was that. That's the tweet that what Jake Tapper is showing us right now. All right, well, that makes sense why everyone's upset about that.
Called Nuremberg.
I just love that after having a mass meltdown about a so-called insurrection, Democrats are now campaigning for an insurrection, quite openly too. And what about Jake Tapper referencing Nuremberg, the movie, because his dim audience doesn't know the actual history? Let's hear now from one of these Democrats who call for members of the military to commit treason, essentially. Here is Alyssa Slotkin. I wonder if she can name one illegal order that President Trump has issued.
Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela.
What did she say? To my knowledge, I'm not aware of things that are illegal. There you go. But she and her treasonous collaborators felt that.
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes.
What? So she's not aware of anything that's illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastic. Oh man, you can't make this stuff up.
And everything related to Venezuela.
What did she say? To my knowledge, I'm not aware of things that are illegal. There you go. But she and her treasonous collaborators felt the need to create a very well-produced video calling on members of the military to disobey lawful orders, to break the chain of command. And it gets worse. When she's pressed for examples, she claims she was just talking broadly. And then she really loses it and starts scrambling. She mentions Nuremberg and even a Tom Cruise film.
It does imply that the president is having illegal orders, which you have not seen.
I think for us, it was just a statement widely, right? If you're going back to Nuremberg, right, that, well, they told me to do it, that's why I murdered people, is not an excuse. If you look at popular culture, there's you watch, A Few Good Men, we have plenty of examples since World War II in Vietnam where people were told to follow illegal orders and they did it and they were prosecuted for it.
But you just said that President Trump had not issued any illegal orders. That would be the key point. Joining me now is Newswork Senior Editor-at-Large at Article 3 Project Senior Counsel Josh Hammer. Josh, this whole campaign by the Democrats has now been turned around to attack Donald Trump because he said what they did was seditious, tantamount to treason. How do you see this?
Well, Rita, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, can we forever dispel the notion that Alyssa Slotkin, Mark Kelly, and these other notable Democratic elected officials are anything other than essentially indistinguishable from Jasmine Crockett, AOC, and the most radical left flank? You know, they were sold, Senators Kelly.
Yeah, essentially what he's saying is that they're important. Essentially, that's what they're saying. That he's saying that they're important. So I'm curious to see where that's going to go. I'm curious to see where it's going to turn up, and we're going to keep watching. Now we're going to go to the next clip by Secular Talk. This is about Alex Jones, so let's take a look at this. Shout out to Alex Jones, shout out to Secular Talk.
Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love. Once monthly.
So as you all know, Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to resign the other day, and that came as a surprise to a lot of people. And I get it. It makes sense that some people are shocked, but I have to be honest, I was not that surprised. And I wasn't that surprised because she doesn't have a base anymore. There's no base for her anymore. A person who she just defended endlessly turned on her and called her a traitor to the country. She was getting death threats. I don't think she wanted to spend the next however long being a total simp to a guy who refers to her as a traitor. So I kind of get where she's coming from. Now, I think in the long run, I do think she's going to try to get back in politics. It's possible she just sort of taps out and says, I'm going into media. But I'm really more of the mindset she's either going to run for the Senate or she's going to run for president, maybe more likely president in 2028. She wants to be the future of MAGA. She wants to claim the mantle of, like, I'm the true MAGA. And she thinks she could stay relevant enough by, doing media until 2028. So that's my guess as to what's going on here. But I'm not surprised she wanted to go because she really put herself in a corner, right? I mean, and this is a tale as old as time. There's been, a dozen examples of Republican politicians who started to break with Trump. And then, once they do and he fires back, eventually they say, you know what, I'm out, I'm done. I'm not doing this again. Jeff Flake comes to mind. And like I said, there's literally like 10 or 12 others that, it was a Republican, stood up to Trump, then retires. So same kind of thing happened here. But what's extra crazy about it is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, she voted 95% or more with Trump, and even that is not okay. Why? Because God forbid you want the Epstein files released. God forbid you say some critical words of Israel. You are not welcome in the MAGA movement. Remember, Epstein is a Democratic hoax, but it's also totally real, but the Democrats are the ones who are guilty. This is what he does. He contradicts himself all the time on it. But don't criticize Israel. Don't say you want to release the Epstein files. You're persona non grata. He's done with you. And so she ended up resigning. So first, let me give you a little reminder. Here is part of her resigning video.
And I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms.
Now, by the way, I would say, I do think she'd probably win the primary, to be honest. Because right now, Trump's at 36% approval rating. He's really losing his grip.
And this is where I would actually agree with Kyle, where he says that he thinks she would win a primary. I had no reason not to think that she wouldn't. That's part of the reason. But like we said, she definitely could be gearing up to come back. I just thought it was extremely interesting because I'm like, dude, she has way too much popularity right now at this point for her to be backing down. What is going on that the public obviously doesn't know? Some of you guys have touched on here really great tonight. Like Nick has let us know what he thought. Liberty Vault, a couple of people that I've covered with you guys tonight, they've let us know where they're at, and it really has opened my eyes some. So I can definitely see the blackmail, and I can definitely also see the threatening. Those are not two things I can say I was thinking about right away. Maybe some threatening, maybe not so much blackmail. So let's keep listening.
And now it's possible that she would lose. In her mind, she might think there's a chance I lose, and I'd rather not lose my primary and have my career be done that way. I'd rather go, let me opt out now, and then I'll run for president. I could see her thinking like that, but I do think she would win her primary.
And in turn, be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
So that line where she says there is no plan, that was like a little bit of a shot at QAnon, like, hey dog, there is no grand plan here, like Trump is sort of part of the swamp. Alright, so Alex Jones sees this, and you know Alex, he's been on this thing lately where it's like, we gotta stop having a MAGA civil war, we gotta come together, we gotta get Nick Fuentes and Ben Shapiro to be buddy-buddy, we gotta work it all out. Trump, why are you going after MTG? She's a loyal soldier, she's just saying I disagree with you in a nuanced way on...
Yeah, like, and even though Kyle's making fun of Trump here, he's making a good point because Alex Jones is not happy about all this division. I mean, this is true. To some extent, I can say that he does want to see Ben Shapiro and Nick Fuentes kind of get along and hug it out. Maybe even a bromance is created there. I don't think it's going to happen. But I agree with Kyle there when he says that that's something that, you know, Alex wants to see. But let's take a look at it because Alex said something that was really interesting. And I don't want it to spoil this, so let's take a look.
Certain issues. So he's been out there trying to play peacemaker, sort of like a Matt Walsh role. Matt Walsh is getting like cooked by the Groypers. And he's like, hey guys, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all realize the common enemy is the left, and let's just fight the left and stop going after me and Ben Shapiro, please? And the Groypers are like, fuck you fucking sell out, working for a Jew. Like, that's what's happening. So Alex Jones is playing a similar role to Matt Walsh. Hey guys, why can't we all get along? By the way, I love the idea that like Mr. fucking anti-establishment, Mr. conspiracy outsider guy is like playing fucking cheerleader and mediator from within the Republican tent. Like, the governing coalition of the country, the ultimate representative of the establishment is now Alex Jones. But he comes out, and now he's having a moment because, as you all know, Trump's approval rating very low, 36%. He's really losing his grip. The whole country's like fucking done with this guy. The economy is trash. He's starting all these new wars. So everybody's like, ugh, gross. So Alex Jones steps in here. He's like, I don't know. I think I might be turning on Trump. I'm really close to turning on Trump, y'all. Here, let's watch.
And I'm just going to say it point blank. I'm not a bandwagon person. I don't pile on other people who are doing something. I know MTG well. She's a woman of incredible integrity, brought up poor, self-made, very successful construction company, a woman of great integrity. She announced last night that she is resigning. I predicted on the Tuesday broadcast. She didn't tell me this, but I talked to her at length. And it sounded to me like she was throwing in the towel just because she can't be part of something that's, quote, a lesser of two evils. And she's very popular in her district. Wins by some of the widest margins of anyone in Congress. And we'll play her statement here in a moment that ties into all of this, but I'm not saying this because of what she just did. I'm going to have to reflect on this, and I'm going to have to pray about it, and I'm going to take a few weeks on it. I think it's the most important thing to do, but I'm not a person that is normally conflicted, and I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of depth, a lot of sources, a lot of context, and when I do get conflicted on something, I just have to go to God with it, and pray about it a lot, and then go to that place that King David talked about, the quiet place, the Most High, and then I'm going to make my decision. And if God tells me tonight, I'll make my decision. But I am seriously inches away from not supporting Trump anymore. Because I am not going to watch him commit political suicide.
Alex, who are you kidding, bro? You're a little bitch. Your ass is going to fall right back in line. you can do is go, you know what, I'm done, I'm off the Trump train, he's causing all these problems, I don't agree with what he's doing here, and here. But like, homie, we're in fucking, it is 2025. You're telling me nothing he's done between 2015 and 2025 for a fucking decade, none of it made you go, you know what, I'm out. I don't like that one too much. None of it, nothing. Now it's, because MTG is resigning, now, you went too far, Don. You went too far. So he didn't go.
See, so he obviously, Kyle, he's teasing them because he doesn't understand, like, why hasn't Trump already been offensive? Like, why is it offensive now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is leaving? Why weren't you guys offended before? Why wasn't Alex Jones upset before? So this is what he's getting at, because there's been plenty of things that Alex Jones didn't say much about, or maybe he didn't care too much, so he kind of just shrugged it off. But when it came to Marjorie Taylor Greene, he's like, no, Trump, I don't agree with you on this. She's allowed to disagree with you. He didn't seem too happy about it.
Go too far when he killed increased overtime pay for millions of people that Biden did and he undid. He didn't go too far then. He didn't go too far when he killed the $15 minimum wage for federal contractors that Biden put in place. He didn't go too far when he opposed the PRO Act and minimum wage increases. He didn't go too far when he destroyed the NLRB with anti-union picks to protect his billionaire fucking donors. He didn't go too far when he destroyed the CFPB, the anti-scam police. He didn't go too far when he outsourced hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. He didn't go too far when he just decided, I'm going to cut taxes on the rich and raise taxes on the bottom 90% of Americans. He didn't go too far when 2.3 million people lost their health care in his first term, and he just kicked 17 million people off Medicaid in his second term. When he froze the food stamp money for fucking millions of people, at the same time he cut 94 million pounds of food going to food banks, starving Americans while giving $40 billion to Argentina. That didn't go too far. Bombing fishermen in the Caribbean day in and day out. Bombing Iran illegally, bombing Somalia, bombing Yemen, all illegal. That didn't go too far. None of that went too far. Fucking setting up concentration camps, sending innocent people there where they get raped. That didn't go too far. You made MTG mad, and so I don't know. I'm really thinking about it, guys. I might actually do this. I might actually leave. No, you won't. No, you won't, because we've seen this fucking movie 1,000 times. How many clips has Nick Fuentes done? That's it. I'm turning on Trump. Here's a rant about me turning on Trump. This is like the 7th time you turned on Trump. Alex, how many are you going to do? Where, they turn, but then guess what? It's right back. The next day, it's fucking right back. I remember Alex Jones crying on air, when Trump bombed Syria in his first term. Crying on air, oh, you ruined everything. You pissed it away. You were so good, and now you're so bad. He was crying. Within a fucking week, right back on Trump's nuts. Right back on his baby dick. Just unbelievable, bro. Like, enough. Spare me the fucking theatrics. Because, guys, guess what? Here's what's at the core of these people. Nothing. There is nothing at the core of these people. Nothing. They don't actually have an ideology. He's a vibes monger, right? He rides the wave of right-wing vibes. The left, at least the left is actually tied to shit. At least we care about getting money out of politics and ending the corruption. At least we care about clean elections and ending the wars and universal health care and a higher minimum wage and a 4-day work week and eliminating the medical debt and doing Social Security for all, having the #1 infrastructure in the world. Like, at least there's some shit, like, that's at the core of what we talk. There's nothing there for Alex Jones. It's just not there.
Yeah.
So, like, spare me your whole fucking... I'm gonna do it. I'm actually gonna do it. What does that even mean? Imagine me...
So, to Kyle's point, he's like, I don't understand why Alex is getting all worked up about this. He's usually on the Republican side, right? He's usually on the conservative side. So, he's MAGA, right? He's for all of this stuff that Trump stands for. But now that Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't going to be there, he's upset. He's making this big uproar about it. And Kyle's like, why are you upset about this now? Why weren't you upset about this before? There's been plenty of things Trump's done that some people might label as hideous, others not so much. Nonetheless, Kyle's like, so this is the thing. This is the thing that's actually going to take you out. The fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is now leaving. So I think he makes a pretty funny point by expounding on this. All right, guys, let's go to the next clip.
Coming out of here saying, that's it. I think I'm done with Zoran. I'm not quite there, but I'm inches away from being done with Zoran. So maybe I'm done with him. I think he's making mistakes. I should. Hey, Zoran, next week, buddy, it might. Like, what is that? What is that? What does that even mean? Oh, God, I can't fucking take it. It's just so silly. He's just such a silly fucking man. And the craziest part of it all is that all of the shit he was warning about in the late 90s and early 2000s, it's all happening. It's all happening. You want to talk about the U.S. military invading the United States of America by a tyrant who's ordering it? Red State National Guard invading blue cities? Rounding up innocent people, sending them to concentration camps. Alex used to say, Barack Obama's going to shove us in Agenda 21 FEMA camps. They're going to ban cars. They're going to force us. They're going to take away all of our rights. Here's Trump actually rounding up innocent people, putting them in CCOT concentration camps in Alligator Auschwitz, and he's got nothing to say. He supports it. They're going to do mass spying. They're going to have AI's going to spy on all of us. They're going to see exactly what we're doing. We're going to have no privacy anymore. Here's fucking Peter Thiel, the billionaire freak who's obsessed with Antichrist. He has Palantir spying on everybody, creating a mass blackmail database on every American. He supports it. He was defending Peter Thiel on his show the other day. So I can't with this bullshit, bro. Everything you warned about. The police state is here, but Trump is delivering it. The mass surveillance state is here, but Trump is delivering it. Right? This is the Patriot Act on fucking steroids, and you got nothing to say about it. Maybe I might be against this. Come back to me in a week or a month. I'll think about it. I'll pray about it. But I think I might oppose this. Oh, really? Notice the double standard. Whenever it's a Democrat fucking sneezes or farts, and he does an hour-long, enemy of society, enemy of civilization, they're devils, they're horrible, they're demonic. Trump, I'm going to spy on every single one of you. I'm going to shove you into concentration camps. I'm going to take away all of your rights. No more due process whatsoever. I don't know. I'm not sure about this one, Chief. Maybe I'll stay. Maybe I won't.
Come on, guys. We gotta give it to Kyle. His imitations are crazy. They're crazy work. But listen, nonetheless, I think he's making a good point here. You see the back and forth. That's why I said on the last live stream, I think it was 2 ago, where I said, dude, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where somebody lands. We can all think independently. These politicians, Democrats start things that Republicans finish. Republicans start things that Democrats finish, and back and forth. So sometimes that's why it's fun. That's why I like to watch both sides. Because at the end of the day, they both get to a point at some point where they're lying to us flat out. It doesn't matter what party it is. Even the party that we like or we vote for, they all get to a point where they're kind of lying to us, right? So let's keep going. He's almost done.
I gotta think about it a little bit. What a joke. What a joke of a person, man. So washed. Just wrap it up, dog. Wrap it up. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now.
These pizzas got me saying,
RFK did this.
Fan favorites?
All right, y'all, I'm going to apologize in advance for
1 hour ago
delivering this story to you because bottom line is I had to read it, so now you do too. It's that simple. I was dragged down.
You guys see the title of this, right? So pay attention to the title right here.
Into the pits of hell. And so you now need to join me there to know what it's like. So I don't know how many of you guys have been following this, but there's this journalist by the name of Olivia Nuzzi, and she, in the past, was following RFK Jr.'s presidential campaign. And in the midst of that, she kind of snuggled up to him a little bit, got a tad too close, and Olivia Nuzzi was engaged in basically what they say is a texting affair, an emotional affair, where they would sort of sext each other. Now, by the way, Olivia Nuzzi, I believe she's younger than me. I'm 37. I think she's around 32-ish, somewhere in that range. RFK is fucking 70 years old, bro. 70. Now, the Kennedys are sort of known for having, prominent libidos, I guess is one way to put it. But this motherfucker's also on testosterone replacement therapy, dog. Which is just a fancy way of saying he's a 70-year-old juice head. Pumping himself full of fucking steroids. And so, when you're naturally already too horny, and then you add the fucking steroids on top of it, oh my god, forget it.
forget it. It's like a mess ensues. Pun intended. All right, so take a look at this from the Daily Beast. RFK Jr.'s vile poetry to lover published by her scorned ex. Journalist Ryan Lizza says Kennedy only knows what felching is thanks to his former fiancée Olivia Nuzzi's affair with the Health and Human Services Secretary. Okay. So this guy, Ryan Lizza, he was a journalist. He was basically, going to get married to Olivia Nuzzi, and it was during that affair that he found out. He was able to find stuff of, like, her cheating with RFK Jr. Oh, my God. All right, here we go. Oh, we'll get to felching. Don't you worry, we are getting to felching shortly. The scorned ex-fiancé of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s former lover has spilled the tea on the Health and Human Services Secretary pension.
I mean, in RFK's defense, I feel like Kyle's being a little harsh there. I don't think he's pumping himself with steroids, but I get what he's saying, because he's taking the testosterone. I mean, nonetheless, like, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good, RFK. That's why I'm like, oh, man, if he already had that problem. Yeah, and then I would say the testosterone replacement therapy, those two things combined probably isn't working out very well for him. But let's keep looking. Oh, man.
For self-penned erotic poetry. Your mouth awaiting my harvest. Your open mouth awaiting my harvest. The scion of the Kennedy clan is alleged to have written to former New York Magazine star reporter Olivia Nuzzi, according to a new Substack article on the salacious saga published Saturday by Nuzzi's ex Ryan Lizza, himself a journalist formerly at Politico. Quote, "Drink from me, love," Kennedy is understood to have gone on in his poem. Quote, "I mean to squeeze your cheeks, to force open your mouth. I'll hold your nose as you look up at me to encourage you to swallow. Quote, don't spill a drop. I am a river. You are my canyon. I mean to flow through you. I mean to subdue and tame you, my love." Bro, you're 70 years old, bro. You're 70 years old, dog. You should be having the fucking breakfast special at IHOP in this bitch. You should be fishing. You should be watching reruns of Murder, She Wrote.
Yo, I'm cooked, bro. He said you should be having this senior citizens breakfast at IHOP. Dude, like, Kyle's crazy. I get it, though. Yo, that email's kind of crazy that he's saying all of that stuff. He's like, you are 70 years old, dude. Hey, the guy still got it. You can't hate on him for that. Like, he still got it with the words, so he's using his words. He might not have it with the looks, but he's using his words, He's gonna do what he's gonna do what he does. Oh, man, that's hilarious.
You should be golfing with your fellow old guys who are going to die within the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh, my gosh.
What are you doing? What are you doing? And Olivia Nuzzi, what are you doing? Okay. Man, these people got problems, dog. Olivia Nuzzi, and you can see her here, by the way. This is her here. It was brought to my attention that when she was 16 years old, 16, she made a song. And the song is called Jailbait. And she sings about how she's jailbait. And all the old guys want to fuck me. By the way, you know who else gets a little fucking catches a stray in this whole saga? Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann was like 50 years old dating 18-year-old Olivia Nuzzi. Keith Olbermann. This is just a who's who of people I never want to know. I never want to know them. I never want to talk to them. I never want to know somebody who knows somebody who knows them. This is like, Jesus Christ, these people are fucked up. Drink from me, love. Kennedy is understood to have gone in the poem. I mean to squeeze your cheeks. All right, we already did this. We're not going to do it. All right, let's keep going. Lizza has titled Kennedy's Otis fiancé American Canyon. While the former political reporter does not divulge how he obtained the poem, he says that it and many others, too explicit to print, changed everything in his relationship with Nuzzi.
Okay, so he said, so this guy says it and many others. So it's not like this is just one poem that was exchanged. So I wonder how long this was going on, because the guy's clearly upset. He's like, it completely changed their relationship. It and many others, and he says that it's too explicit. I'm like, okay, man, RFK has been getting into some stuff. All right, RFK, we see you, dog. We see you. That's crazy work.
Jesus Christ. So he stumbled across like all of the fucking, like there was a lot of shit. There were more than one poem. Oh my God. Quote, thanks to Bobby, I am now aware of something called felching. Liza added Saturday. The Daily Beast has researched the term and urges readers not to do the same. Okay, so I read the original Liza post on his Substack, and now I'm going to tell you what felching is because I had to learn what it is. Felching, ladies and gentlemen, is when you're having sex with somebody, you come in their vagina or their asshole, and then you eat your own cum out of said vagina or asshole. That's what felching is. 70 years old. He's 70. And he's asking somebody to felch with him. Hey, do you mind if I nut in your ass and then I eat it afterwards? Could I do that? It's the thing. You know, I've never actually even tried it with anybody else. You're the first one I've ever tried it with, but I just like the idea of it. Is that cool with you, my love? Oh, my...
Dude, that's crazy. Dude, like, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. I don't know what part is funnier. The part that because he's 70, obviously Kyle doesn't expect him to be doing this. I see you guys was laughing, but I mean, I'm just saying, dude, like, he doesn't expect him to be doing this at 70. The guy still got his mojo, so hey man, he's making it happen, but it's just hilarious how he's just like, dude, you're 70, you should not be doing this.
God, bro. Oh my God. Again, I apologize for sharing all this with you guys, but as soon as I learned what fucking felching was, I knew I had to tell you what fucking felching is. And you have to understand the fucking depravity that goes on inside this political world. What in God's name are we talking about here? 75. I can't get over it. You're 70 years old, bro. When I'm 70 years old, once a year, like once a year I'll nut. How about that? 70 years old, like you should be, those are, hey, I'm wise now. I'm old. I'm wise. I'm not like bogged down with the same carnal passions as like a fucking 24-year-old is, right? Like what is this? Lay off the roids, dog. It's not necessary. Who are you trying to impress? I know you're trying to impress. Fucking Olivia Nuzzy, apparently. God damn it. The whole sordid saga is back in the spotlight after Liza alleged in part 1 of his tell-all account that Nuzzy had not only cheated on him with Kennedy, but also with former South Carolina Republican Congressman Mark Sanford. What the fuck? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of my audience is honestly probably too young to remember this, but this is like when I was young. There was this governor, Mark Sanford, and he randomly just disappeared. Gone, out of nowhere, like that, gone. Nobody knew where he was. And his staff was like trying to cover for him, and they were like, oh yeah, he went hiking in the Appalachian Mountains, I guess. And come to find out, no, he was having an affair, and it was like some Brazilian woman or something like that, some Colombian woman, something like that. Somebody like that. And he was like cheating on his wife, having that affair, and he just disappeared to like basically be with that person for like a week and then eventually came back. And obviously nuked any chance he had of ever trying to run for higher office. But apparently Nuzzy was sleeping with this dude too. I would say, was she the one actually that he was cheating with? But I don't know. This was a long time ago. Nuzzy would have been like a fetus. Well, not that young, but she would have been young. She would have been young at the time. Nuzzy, who has now taken on a new post as West Coast editor at Vanity Fair, has meanwhile released extracts from her upcoming memoir, American Canto, in which she describes grappling with her desire for Kennedy amid concerns that a parasitic worm may have eaten parts of his brain. 70 crazy. Years old. 70.
Yeah.
What the fuck, bro? Her affair with Kennedy is understood to have begun while she was covering his ill...
So that's what I'm saying. When you guys hear Kyle talk, what do you hear? Do you hear him discriminating because of ageism? Or do you hear just him coming at a dirty old man? Like, what do you hear? Because it's like, I'm not going to say he's discriminating because of age, right? I don't want to call it ageism. But, I mean, he obviously does not like the fact that RFK is 70 years old and he's talking, writing, and conducting himself in this way. I just find it hilarious because over and over again, he just keeps saying, dude, you are 70 years old. Like, he's clearly mortified by it. And he's like, quit it. Like, cut it out. So, let's keep going.
faded 2023 presidential campaign, she later acknowledged an emotional relationship with him, but said it was non-physical and that it did not affect her reporting. No. No, I am not buying that, not even close to buying that. And me and Crystal were talking about this. Could you imagine? They go, oh, no, we didn't actually have sex. Like, we weren't actually together. Really? So you went from zero to felching? You went from zero to felching in the fucking text conversation. That was the chain of events?
So I know you wanted to know about that speech I gave the other day when I was at Columbia University for my presidential campaign, but before we get to that, do you mind if I come in your asshole and then eat it out?
Who believes this? Nobody believes it. No. You only get to the point where you're texting about felching if y'all motherfuckers are felching all over the place in real life. Alright? They were a felch for you, a felch for you, a felch on the front, a felch in the back. You were felching all over the fucking place if you were at the point where you're texting about felching, bro. Let's be serious. Oh, no, we just had an emotional relation. I'm sure Bobby was emotionally eating his cum out of your asshole. That's what it was. Jesus Christ. I gotta take a shower. I want to take a shower. This is so bad. After the news first broke, New York Magazine placed Nuzzy on leave before she and the outlet parted ways in October 2024. Liza had, by that point, already broken off the engagement. In October 2024, Nuzzy sought a protection order against Liza, alleging harassment and threats, though she later asked the court to drop the request. Well, now, homie's spilling all the tea, dog. We're going to learn all about these poems. We're going to learn all about felching and squelching and melching and whatever other fucking nasty-ass 70-year-old Kennedy shit you're doing.
Oh, my God, Kennedy.
I don't know, man. These people are gross. These people are gross. The other thing is, too, like, fuck him. Like, this man is absolutely positively destroying everything about science in this country. And, like, he shouldn't have a moment of peace. He shouldn't have a moment of peace. In the midst of destroying American science, and by extension, global science in some respects, right? This is what he's up to. He's felching. There was a hilarious tweet. So I wish I remember who said it. It may have been the menswear guy, the Derek guy, menswear guy. I think it was him, but I could be wrong. But anyway, he said, I love how RFK is trying to ban me from eating red M&Ms. Meanwhile, he's eating cum out of an asshole.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I mean, I think that says it all.
Okay, I'm done. Okay, yeah. Yeah, at that point, we're done with that. Yeah. So, Kyle, Kyle can be, he could be a bit vulgar. He could be a bit vulgar. But yeah, that comparison is crazy work. He just said, I can't believe RFK's telling me not to eat red M&Ms. Meanwhile, he's eating. Yeah, that's crazy work. So, listen, I just think this is so bad because it really does reflect what a lot of people were saying early on, where people was like, Trump's administration's gross. Like, I mean, people who literally could not stand it. Like, I mean, some of his picks, right? Remember, Matt Gaetz was almost a pick. Like, these people, like, Trump's picks, Trump's cabinet is gross. And then we have this coming out about RFK, like, of all things. I'm like, this RFK? Really, bro? I'm like, this does not make the cabinet look good. Like, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in this. I'm highly disappointed, guys.
This is who this guy is, bro. Remember, I forgot about this. Remember when he was bathing in, like, a fecal sewage-filled creek with his, like, grandkids and posting it? Remember that? Jesus Christ. So this is who this guy is. Limiting access to the COVID vaccine. He put vaccine skeptics on the advisory panel. He fired the CDC director after a month because the CDC director stood up to his junk science bullshit. He fired 1,260 people at the Epidemic Intelligence Service. He ended our support for the global vaccine program. He helped kick millions of people off Medicaid, canceled the flu vaccine campaign, is trying to link antidepressants to violence. He laid off thousands of HHS workers. He released that fake Maha report, which was made up with ChatGPT bullshit in it. There were mass resignations at HHS because of him. And all the while, he's felching. Great, good stuff. I'm now going to go fucking light my eyeballs on fire in the hopes I never have to read anything like that ever again. All right, guys. That's the show. I love y'all very much. Y'all know the drill. Everybody.
All right. Shout out to Kyle. We appreciate Kyle. All right, guys. Shout out to Kyle. We appreciate Kyle on the channel. He's a channel favorite. He's so vulgar. Absolutely hilarious. He actually tonight told us about RFK and felching and what RFK has been up to. I mean, the email's crazy. You know, his advances towards this woman. I'm not saying like he doesn't have the right to advance towards someone. I mean, if he's not married or anything, but I mean, the way he's going about it is kind of gross. The whole felching thing, the writing, it definitely, there's a lot. And I can see why Kyle's so upset with him. He's not the only person. A lot of people are upset with RFK, but we'll keep following that very weird, odd story. And yeah, we'll see where it leads to. Next up, we're going to actually go over to Benny Johnson's channel and take a look at something that I believe it was Candace Owens said that he covered.
So check this out. This is our wallet company, Code 118. We make Jeep.
Oh my gosh. You guys know who that is? That's Brigitte. That's Brigitte Macron. The person that's on the screen. I just wanted to pause it so you guys could see it. That's Emmanuel Macron's wife.
What's up, guys? Benny. So we covered that Candace Owens is alleging that she's about to be assassinated by a group of French and Israeli mercenaries funded by the French government. She put this post up this weekend saying effectively that there is a massive plot that is already in motion to kill me, and it is sponsored by the French First Family. This has been seen by 40 million people, 213,000 likes, and nearly 100,000 reposts. Candace Owens saying that there is a high-ranking employee inside of the French government that is tipping her off to everything that is happening, and that the green light has been given for her murder, saying that the person points out that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion as well. Another journalist also is on the mark and will be assassinated as well. So this is something that is a remarkable claim. Obviously, the French government is suing Candace Owens in an astonishing move. But will they actually kill her? I mean, governments just don't go kill inconvenient people, right? Like America would never do that, right? You can't just search for a list of assassinations by the United States of America. Well, I mean, who did we assassinate exactly? Okay, so some guy in World War II, all right, some people from Vietnam, okay, and just a few more 100,000 people. Okay, so there's like, okay, so maybe assassinations do take place. This is why, when my original person points out that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion as well. Another journalist also is on the mark.
So I wanted to go back to that part because I want you guys to see that connection with the French Legion. Candace was already doing this research on Brigitte and Emmanuel before Charlie's death. So if you guys actually go on her channel, because I actually watched it, I think it's called Becoming Brigitte. Candace did like this whole entire thing about like Brigitte Macron, it's just a lot. I don't even want to spoil it for you guys because there's a lot of things that she reveals in there that I feel like you guys should go to her channel and watch it because she did the journalism research on it. But let's just say it's a very crazy story and you're going to get a lot of very interesting facts about Brigitte Macron. So let's keep listening to Benny.
And will be assassinated as well. So this is something that is a remarkable claim. Obviously, the French government is suing Candace Owens in an astonishing move. But will they actually kill her? I mean, governments just don't go kill inconvenient people, right? Like America would never do that, right? You can't just search for a list of assassinations by the United States of America. Well, I mean, who did we assassinate exactly? Okay, so some guy in World War II, all right, some people from Vietnam, okay, and just a few more 100,000 people. Okay, so there's like, okay, so maybe assassinations do take place. This is why, in my original assessment of this, I said, I'm not going to take this out of hand. I am not going to sit there and laugh at it or say that Candace is trying to just, fearmonger or gather attention onto herself. Like, I'll take it seriously. I watched Charlie Kirk get killed. I watched my president get shot in the head on at a live event. I'm not going to rule out anything on this front. And I will absolutely take these kind of threats seriously because, well, it's happening right before our very eyes. So why wouldn't I? Well, Candace Owens is now dropping more information.
And that's the thing, like to Benny's point, both things are traumatizing, and she's been able to see both. She's been able to see President Trump, get shot at, and then she's been able to see her friend get shot in the neck on, live television or like during a live stream. So, she has her reasons why she is the way that she is, why she is paranoid about the things that she's paranoid about. And I think rightfully so. We all, to an extent, have that level of paranoia, especially people don't really realize the damage that it does when they get exposed to PTSD or some type of trauma. Like, you think you could just see somebody die in front of you. Trust me, as someone who served in the military, and before I ever went in the military, the first time I saw someone die was by them committing suicide, and it was in front of me. That is just not something that you ever shake. It's not something that you just don't see. So I can see the reason why she feels compelled to find these things out about Charlie and about her friend, because she sees all these things happening, and like we all do, but because it's someone who's close to her, and that's why I just don't rule it out. And I'm like, oh, Candace is crazy. I don't jump on the Candace is crazy bus. Not right now, because I feel like she's putting enough energy into it that is keeping me intrigued instead of annoyed. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
About what's actually going on here, and it's remarkable. Here we go, let's read. There will be no official response from the palace, the French palace, the French government, because what I have shared is true, and I have evidence to support my claims. I even have the names of the people that are trying to kill me. They're likely trying to figure out where the leak came from. We are talking about the murder of citizens for speech. And again, governments engage in lots of murders around, like, it's just the way that it's always worked. Have I seen the direct evidence that Candace is talking about? No. Should she provide that? Maybe eventually. Should she have as tight of a security as possible? Maybe not go out in public for a while? I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to dismiss this. I'm not going to sit there and make fun of Candace for this. I think this kind of stuff is really serious. I really do. I'm told the payments for the assassinations are running through the Club des Cents in France. This means that there's a paper trail, and I encourage the patrons of France to do what they can to uncover it. I would again like to stress out that there was a French female assassin, but also a male, an Israeli assassin that was selected to kill me. These are joint state operations, Candace says. And said this has 5 million views, 54,000 likes, 11,000 reposts. Yikes. What are the Club des Cents? Club des Cents apparently got $1.5 million for my assassination. How will the world respond? When everything is said and done, the public learns that Macron moved $1.5 million for my assassination. How will the world respond? He moved it to the Club des Cents? What is this? The Club des Cents means the Club of 100. Brings together distinguished chefs. This club is known for the Champignons de Cognac. This name indicates the club is 100 official members. In addition, there are a few trainees as well as foreign. It was founded in 1912. The club encourages various activities that focus on gastronomy. So how would this be possibly linked to assassination, like on a state level?
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and read, shall we? Club des Cents. The club presents itself as a simple association of bon vivants and food lovers and connoisseurs, but in reality, far less incongruous with other countries, become customary to settle major national affairs over a meal. This is a very discreet circle. Its headquarters is a stone's throw from the palace. Half the club's members are male, comes from old aristocratic families, wealthy heirs, ambassadors, historians, a place to convey messages. CEOs of companies and captains of industry make up the bulk of the membership. The club is a secret society, the kind of Freemasonry fork in the palate. At the table, the members primarily discuss culinary tastes, so on and so forth, and Michelin stars. But let's not be naive. These industrialists and politicians and wealthy individuals is the table of the one that governs, the French bishop said. The table of the ones who govern. Okay. Here's like a.
If you live in a Delaware zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years,
here's a photo of it. There you go.
All right, guys. So I'm going to go a little bit ahead to another point that I want us to look at. Benny's kind of just going through a lot of history here. So let me go to a different part.
Is the creator, CEO of Telegram.
So now this part right here, I'm going to freeze the screen. I want you guys to read along with what it says right here. After reviewing everything Charlie Kirk has shared.
Pavel Durov is the creator, CEO of Telegram, and is the founder. And he's a really smart guy. He's a really rich person. And he is somebody who's been imprisoned in France, effectively because of state tyranny. Anyway, Pavel says this: after reviewing everything Charlie Kirk has ever said about Macron's France, I find Candace's info about the French involvement in his death entirely plausible. Charlie called for a 300% tariff on France until the charges against me were dropped. Goodness. And it links out to a Charlie post. President Trump should announce 300% tariff on French wine unless all charges are dropped immediately against Pavel Durov. If Europe is going to imprison CEOs of a platform where free speech thrives, there should be stiff and painful consequences. So again, this is like very, very powerful tech oligarch, who runs a very, very important platform, Telegram, which I love, by the way. Well-connected people have told me that the French intelligence services are not exactly unknown for assassinations, a point supported by public sources. I just Googled French Secret Intelligence Service assassinations, and the results are freaking wild. Let's read. A squad of French secret agents hired for contract killings.
And this is Candace's point. This is her point right here. So that's why when she said that, a lot of people are like, oh, like, dude, I've already seen a couple of YouTubers react to it. Candace Owens' latest claim is wild. And I'm just like, dude, these people have not been watching, like, what she's been doing all of this time. Like, Candace Owens has the #1 podcast in the world right now. Not in the United States, in the world. I've been watching her for some time, though. You got people that don't like her. I'm not saying I agree with everything. But I'm saying she is a pretty good show to watch sometimes, depending on what information you're going for in particular.
According to the Times of London, French intelligence agents charged in murder plot, according to the Associated Press. Mossad accomplices how Israel relied on French foreign intelligence to organize its killing campaigns. Wow. According to the English Historical Review, and French ex-spy suspected of Congo plot shot dead in the Alps. Daniel Forrester had been investigated for his plot to assassinate opposition figures. He was found riddled with bullets in the Alps. Goodness. He was discovered in a pool of blood in a parking area off a little used road. Police said the killing was a professional job, and postmortem revealed he had been shot 5 times. Okay. People don't realize what France is. Some 15 countries in Africa remain prisoners of the colonial franc and pay a chunk of income to Paris every year. When a Western country wants to do something diabolical or sadistic or illegal, torture, murder, etc., it's France that they call.
Yeah, you see, I appreciate And that's the thing. I've been watching Benny for some time. He does great journalism work. You know, and granted, I have people jump in the chat and they're like, Russian Benny, Benny with the Russians. And it's like, dude, we're going to have somebody doing something all the time. We're always going to have our people, some of our influencers, some of our politicians always having their hands in the bad pot sometimes. It's just like that, guys. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. It's not okay with me, but nonetheless, you know, I appreciated that somebody like Benny Johnson had that on his platform, because I know Candace has been putting a lot of work in that area, and a lot of people are just busy saying that she's crazy and she's out of her mind. So I appreciated what Benny did there. So let's go to one of the last clips of the live stream before I get off and we get back on. Give me a minute, guys. So I'm thinking about where's my
This weird portable microscope is quickly becoming the most popular Christmas gift for kids in 2025. It's a digital microscope.
Again, they're just saying it plain as day. You don't have to work. Robots and AI, it's going to promise you salvation. You don't have to worry about anything. The system's going to take care of you. It's what Elon Musk just said at the Saudi Arabia U.S. Investment Forum, promising that, you know, we won't have to work no more and money's going to be irrelevant. I mean, that might sound nice, but until you realize that this is the beginning of how systems will trap you. It's been going on since the beginning of time. In fact, I would say it's been going on since Genesis 3. So I want to make this quick video to inform you from the biblical perspective. Hit that like button. Let's get this out there to more people, and let's reach more for what's really going on. Let's get in this together. First, let's hear what Elon had to say.
With Tesla, we wanted to make electric cars compelling and affordable. That was the goal. With respect to humanoid robotics, there are no useful humanoid robots at this point. There are sort of gimmicks, but there are no actually useful humanoid robots. And I think Tesla's going to make the first actually useful humanoid robots. And this will be quite a revolution. And I think something that everyone will want. Because I was thinking, like, who wouldn't want their own personal C-3PO R2-D2? Oh, yeah? Of course. Everyone would want one, right? And then there would be many in industry providing products and services. This is why I say that humanoid robots will be the biggest industry, or the biggest product ever. Bigger than cell phones or anything else, because everyone's going to want one, and or maybe more than one, and there will be many in industry.
Keep in mind, as you're listening to him talk, there was some news articles been going on the last few months about Elon Musk's pay package, how that if he can raise Tesla's stock to a certain level, they're going to give him literally $1 trillion. So he has a stake in this game. When he's saying that everyone will want one, everyone, this can be the biggest thing ever. I mean, he is doing what he's supposed to do. He's trying to raise that stock in Tesla to make his $1 trillion. So Jesus himself said that the love of money is the root of all evil.
I just want R2-D2 in C-3PO's body.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I mean, a humanoid robot would be better than R2-D2 and C-3PO combined times 10.
Yeah.
So and you know, people often talk about sort of eliminating poverty and that kind of thing, but really how long have they been talking about that? But AI and humanoid robots will actually eliminate poverty. And Tesla won't be the only one that makes them. I think Tesla will pioneer this, but there will be many other companies that make humanoid robots. But there is only basically one way to make everyone wealthy, and that is AI.
I was trying to pause it earlier. I'm going to rewind that. But remember, he's telling us the only one way. I want you to think about this question he's going to ask. There's only one way to make everyone wealthy. To make everyone wealthy, there's only one way. Now, when he's asking that question, I want to know who everyone is. Is it you and me? Or is it big tech CEOs and these tech elites? And the rich get richer? And what does it mean to become wealthy?
See, now, I can say there that that's a good question. Who does he mean by this, right? Everyone's gonna want one. See, these are all words that I would say, like, as Christians, as followers of Jesus, we have to be on the lookout for, right? We don't want to fall into trends like this. And I like to watch Truth Be Told. Shout out to him. We react to him often on the channel. He's a channel favorite because he comes with the word and he's honest. You know, he makes you critically think about things, and that's what I want. I want you guys to think about what he's showing us right here, right? He's showing us everyone's gonna want one of these robots. That's a great question to ask. Who is gonna be rich, right? Is it gonna be the rich, the big tech rich guys? Are they going to be the ones who are richer, or is it going to be the regular people? And if so, how are they going to afford it? So this is why I like to bring him to the channel. Let's keep watching.
So rewind just a little bit, because he's going to tell you.
But there's only basically one way to make everyone wealthy, and that is AI and robotics. If you say, like, in the long term, where will things end up? Long term, I don't know what long term is. Maybe it's 10, 20 years, something like that. For me, that's long term. My prediction is that work will be optional.
Optional.
Optional. So
we'll take that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to keep going, but I gotta speak on this a little bit, because you got to understand what he's saying. He's saying, first off, that robots will be bigger than cell phones. Everyone's going to want their own humanoid. AI will eliminate, and robotics will literally eliminate poverty, that work will be optional. I mean, I want you to understand that could be CEO speak for workers will be optional. Because if you're looking at the current trends and where it's going, the more AI, the more robots that seep into the workforce, the less jobs that are there for people to work. And if people can't work, they can't eat. We know where it goes after that. So to put it plainly, it seems to me that the world, we're being conditioned to believe that if we want a promising future, that there's only one way. It's technology. It's this new form of a source that is going to give us what we want, what we've always wanted. It's like a secular salvation story where AI and robotics are being framed as the cure for suffering, for inequality, for poverty. This mirrors Revelation 13, a beast system that promises peace and security, a false savior that's offering protection. Global dependency is created, but not on God, rather on a system. Every beast system in history, every controlling factor, every government in history has started this way. And I'll be honest with you, when people start starving, they start obeying. So we need to be careful where we put our trust in and where we put our purpose. Let's keep going.
It'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that. If you want to work, the same way, like you can go to the store and just buy some vegetables, or you could grow vegetables in your backyard. It's much harder to grow vegetables in your backyard, but some people still do it because they like growing vegetables. That will be what work is like, optional. And between now and then, there's actually...
That's so random, but I don't think it's random that he compared it to food. But he goes on this little tangent about vegetables and how he enjoys to do it. But then he also says something like that work will be optional. So this is just interesting where Elon's going with this.
Actually, a lot of work to get to that point. I always recommend people read Ian Banks' culture books to get a sense for what a probable positive AI future is like. And interestingly, in those books, money doesn't exist. It's kind of interesting. And my guess is, if you go out long enough, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, the money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. There will still be constraints on power, like electricity and mass. The fundamental physics elements will still be constraints, but I think at some point currency becomes irrelevant.
Currency becomes irrelevant only through AI and humanoid robots. This gift to humanity that we should be thankful to these tech elites for bringing to us. Now, I do enjoy technology. Don't get me wrong here. I love the fact that you and I can hang out and we can talk and have a conversation. I love that we can interact and meet people from across the world. I mean, I could go on vacation and still talk to my kids through a cell phone or through a computer
I can tell you guys right now, as far as that replacing humans, that's never something that I would want. And you see, but we have people that are already ready for that. Like they're like, yes, like I like animals more than people. See, people, I'm not an animal hater. I have animals. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes people take these things and they go so far with them. And now you're gonna have people saying things like, well, I love robots more than humans. I love my humanoid more than I love real human beings. And it's like, dude, I would take humor in that human interaction over that crap any day. I don't want anything to do with something that if I just pour water on it, it's gonna malfunction. That's literally ridiculous.
With a FaceTime call or something like that. But that's not what we're talking about. Look how much the cell phone changed the world. Look how much this little box that we hold in our hands, put in our pockets, has changed the world. And some things have been really good. Other things have been really, really bad. A lot of bad. I've done videos on this, how depression, anxiety, suicide skyrocketed in our teens since 2009, which is when the iPhone was released. But I want to take you back to Genesis 3 because this is what it is all over again. If you recall in Genesis 3, right before the events that happened, man and woman walked with God. There was no sin, there was no death, there was no suffering. It was a utopia, but according to God's will and God's plan. But unfortunately, this serpent came into the scene, took this forbidden apple, this apple that was from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, all right, this knowledge, okay, this understanding, this new way that was then offered to...
All right, guys, so just for context, like I know Truth Be Told might be doing that just to give you guys context, but you could go back and read the scripture for yourself. It doesn't say it's an apple. It doesn't say it anywhere in scripture. I'm not sure where they get that from. I think, I asked myself this question a while ago, and I'm like, dude, did they get this from Snow White? Like, where did they get this from? It just says forbidden fruit. That's all it says. It could have been a mango, a pineapple, a pear, a banana. We don't know. But it doesn't say apple. Nonetheless, when someone's teaching, they might use a certain type of fruit just for context or to help someone who's not familiar with scripture understand. But I just wanted to give you guys that just for context.
Adam and Eve, and they took it and they ate it. And their eyes were opened. And ever since that moment, ever since that knowledge was given, sin and death came into the world. It wasn't good. But why would we go for that? Why did we go and eat this fruit? Why did we take that fruit and eat it? Well, because it promised us a better future. It promised us a better way. We weren't supposed to be content in God's plan. We were supposed to, it comes to us, he says, you can be like God. Basically, like you won't need God anymore. You won't have to work anymore in this garden, because this is something that most people don't realize, is that in Genesis 2, God gives the command before the sin, before the fall, that man will work that garden. Work is a part of who we are, right? Genesis 2 talks about how God gave us the garden for the man to work and be active. This is where we get our purpose. This is where we get our identity. This is what makes us feel fulfilled, when we can create and we can add and we can eat from the fruit of our labor. It's not supposed to be something like, Wall-E, where we just sit around on our chair drinking big gulps and getting fat and unhealthy and becoming obese. These people are stuck in a screen. They lose their community. They lose real connection. And studies do show that joblessness leads to depression and addiction, violence, hopelessness, loss of identity. And right now, as I speak to you, there's global companies. They're openly aiming to reduce 30 to even 50% of human labor. Governments are openly talking about universal basic income, and there's a rising loneliness and hopelessness epidemic in developed countries like Japan. You can see it for yourself. But in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10, God even warns us how spiritually dangerous it is to be idle. It says, if a man will not work, he will not eat. And Proverbs constantly warns us about this idleness, that the sluggard's cravings will be the death of him. That's Proverbs chapter 21, verse 25. And if you look at Proverbs chapter 6.
Now, for all of you who are probably like, all right, so what's the point of him actually calling out this type of content? Well, this type of contents, like what is the point of him pointing out these particular scriptures? Because what Elon's saying the robot will do. The robot is basically going to replace humans. It'll be able to replace work. A lot of work will become optional. A lot of people will be able to be idle. They'll be able to choose if they want to do this type of work or not. So he's putting it out there. Like, these are why he's picking these Bible verses, because he's trying to warn us and tell us, like, hey, this is dangerous stuff right here. Like, based on what scripture says, God would not want us to do this. God would not want us to go this way. So even though Elon sounds great, and a humanoid might be something that everyone wants, that doesn't mean that God wants us to have it, nor does it mean that if we have the money, we necessarily should purchase it. Let's keep watching.
16. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. So just as I said, in Genesis chapter 2, it says that the Lord God took the man, put him in the garden to work and keep it. That's the truth. Work isn't punishment. It's not a curse like these guys are trying to make us feel. It's not slavery. It's not something God wants removed. Because as I said, in work you find your identity. My dad always told me, do the job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So work doesn't have to be this bad thing. Like, I enjoy being here with you. I enjoy being on the streets doing ministry. I love sharing the gospel. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom with the kids. I did find my identity in that. I did find purpose in that. I love to give, and that's what we're made for, to serve and to steward what God gave us well. Even Jesus, he said, my Father is always working, and I'm always working. Jesus really rested. He was on mission to save you, to save me from this corruption that we're constantly seeing. Removing work removes our purpose, and removing purpose removes what it means to be who we are. And unfortunately, this is the direction we're going in. An antichrist system of comfort and safety, convenience, no work, everyone tracked, no freedom, no personal autonomy. But finally, it's going to lead to an unquestioned loyalty or allegiance to the Revelation 13 beast system. So my friends, don't let a robot steal the purpose God gave you. You were made to create. You were made to serve. You were built to love and to give. And Jesus didn't die for you to make your life comfortable. He died to make your life meaningful, to give you purpose, to give you salvation, to warn you of what's to come. And that's why I'm bringing this word. So help me spread this out there to more people by hitting that like button. I'm not just saying that. We need to open up to this idea that we were made to work. So many people act like they don't want to work because they think work has got to be something that's unenjoyable. Find something to do. Don't let it focus. Don't be so focused on money and be in good relationships. I mean, everything the Bible says is so good for your life. Godly training is good for all parts of the life. That's what the Bible says. So
it's good for all parts of the life. It's good for all parts of the life. Shout out to James. James is a channel favorite, so we often react to James here on the channel. Alright guys, I'm going to cut the live stream, and we're going to come back in a little bit with some nighttime news. Nighttime news gets fun, because nighttime news, we just react to like all the fun stuff. Sometimes it's the ratchet stuff. It's just whatever we feel like. So I appreciate you guys rocking out with the live stream today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you to everyone who is subscribed and who's been rocking with us. If you guys haven't, hit that subscribe button. We go live every single day over here except for Sunday. Sometimes I go live for Sunday service, but hit that subscribe button so you can join the fam. I appreciate you guys stopping by and chilling on the live stream. Always remember, you can share your opinion in the live stream. Just keep it short, because if you flag my auto mod or my AI mod, it acts a little crazy. But I appreciate the mods, the supporters, the subscribers. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great night. Love yourselves. Love one another. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another and be peaceful. And tell somebody about Jesus. Peace.